This comic, in terms of art style and storyline, is definitely a masterpiece in the history of Chinese comic. If you like Chinese style, you must not miss the Great Xian era, where warlords are fighting for supremacy, chaos reigns, with starving civilians, bandits, and marauders swarming the land. Some yogui, demons, and strange creatures have appeared in the world. Some people make a living by hunting and killing them for bounties. Only two blurry figures can be seen in front of the eyes. The old man signaled that it was time to leave and let him go search for the silver-eyed Qilin, and then put an end to this era. The Great Xianxia Prefecture Yellow Leaf Valley occasionally has monsters known as yogui appearing. She is currently battling with a monster. She is holding a sword. She is gasping for breath. This monster has numerous horns. It opens its mouth, letting out a roar as it suddenly charges towards the girl. The girl remains calm and composed. She tightly grips the sword in her hand. She dodges the monster's attack. She is still at the monster's abdomen. Cut out a sword mark. She thought to herself, so tough-skinned and thick-fleshed. The monster reached out its claws and lunged towards the girl. The girl flashed to a distance. She didn't expect that a mere mountain monster in the mountains would be so difficult to deal with. She slowly turned her head to look back. She saw a figure in the distance and asked, "Are you just standing there watching from the sidelines?" The young man casually replied, "Mountain monster was discovered by her. Shouldn't she have a say in whether he gets involved?" The girl said she is ready now. The boy, however, shook his finger to indicate that he didn't want to do it now, leaving the girl momentarily speechless with anger. Just then, the mountain monster let out a roar. The girl's face showed surprise. She quickly dodged aside. She quickly had the boy come over to help, indicating they could split the prey evenly. And the boy said he needed to consider it. At this moment, the mountain monster had already approached the girl. The girl was holding a long sword. She took the opportunity to stab its head, causing it to emit a piercing scream. It fell to the ground immediately. The girl asked how much he wanted. The boy remained calm and suggested that she take some time to think about it. Just as the girl was about to speak, the fallen monster flashed behind her. She was hit and sent flying by the monster, crashing heavily into a giant rock. She spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, the monster was sticking out its long tongue. It slowly approached her. It opened its huge mouth and lunged forward. At this point, the girl said she didn't want this mountain monster anymore. The boy then cast the soul freezing spell, only to see the ginkgo leaves slowly falling from the sky. Just now the huge commotion. At this moment, the mountain monster shivered all over, as if still struggling. The young man jumped down from the giant rock. He took the girl's sword and walked towards the mountain monster. He said that his spiritual intelligence had already opened up, and that he should cultivate well in the mountain. But why did he have to go and eat people? He mentioned that the village at the foot of the mountain offered him 15 taels of silver to take action, only to see the sword in his hand emitting fluctuations of spiritual qi. He slowly raised the long sword, indicating his intention to destroy this body. As he spoke, he struck a blow at the mountain monster. The mountain monster let out a terrible scream. It was cut in half. The monster fell to the ground. The boy said her sword was good. Then the sword entered the scabbard of the girl. The girl was stunned, unable to say a word for a while. The young man said he had only used the soul freezing spell, which wasn't worth mentioning. He said that this mountain monster cultivate is young and foolish in spirit. His soul freezing spell is just right for dealing with it. He can actually use it effortlessly without needing a talisman. She asked him what kind of person he really was. The youth adjusted his hat. He said his name was Jiang Li. He is the sect leader of Spiritual Ruins Mountain. This is a comic that can make you call it a divine. Don't miss it for the world. Ya Prefecture, Western Commandery, Azure Mountain, southern outskirts. At this time, two bandits are talking to each other. They were just driven out by the bandits, and were about to call it quits after one last job when, at that moment, a blurry figure slowly approached. They both looked at the items carried by this person, and felt that he was wealthy. The two of them were prepared to rob him. Then they took out weapons, and blocked Jiang Li's way. The two said, "This tree was planted by him. If you want to pass through, leave." Jiang Li asked them what they should leave behind. The two of them were momentarily speechless, unable to recall the following words. Jiang Li held up the head of the mountain monster, and asked them if they wanted it. The head frightened the two people, causing them to tremble all over. Jiang Li asked them how to get to Azure Mountain City. Sankai said to keep heading north, and they will reach it. Jiang Li expressed his thanks and slowly left. They both silently stared at him. Jiang Li turned back and asked them if they had eaten. Jiang Li said that since they came out to rob, they should have food on them. He told them to hand it over quickly, considering it as him robbing them instead. The two robbers were momentarily at a loss. Jiang Li then patted his belly. Jiang Li asked them, "Did you only bring this little food?" The two robbers knelt down and admitted it. Then he asked them where their stronghold was located. Sankai was extremely surprised. Jiang Li was holding a bamboo hat. He said he is going to their stronghold to eat something now. While Sankai was extremely frightened, she begged him not to go. He said they had just escaped from the mountain stronghold with great difficulty. Jiang Li looked puzzled. Ergo said that the story starts from a month ago. They were originally from the North Commandery 10,000 household, escaping here to evade pursuit by the official soldiers. Upon seeing an abandoned mountain temple here, they decided to rest inside for a few days. There is a strange and unusual statue of a deity inside the temple. The base of the deity's throne is piled with white bones. The brothers were all very scared. Someone suggested leaving quickly, saying that the stone statue was ominous. However, the household leader didn't believe in superstitions. He chopped off the head of the stone statue with one blow and had everyone settle down in this place. But from that day on, household leader underwent a change. He became easily angered and violent, even going as far as killing people. What's even more frightening is that one night, he saw the household leader eating a person. He ate the body of the person he had killed during the day. Jiang Li fell silent after hearing this. Ergo continued, "Since then, the household leader has become more and more inhuman." He then looked towards the head of the mountain monster. Jiang Li was quite interested after hearing that. He said he wanted to go see it now. Their mountain village, only to see the statues beneath the temple. Sitting there, the household leader's stomach made a gurgling sound. He sensed someone approaching and indicated that they had come at the right time because he was too hungry. Then, he revealed a fierce look. Just then, the figures of Jiang Li and the other two slowly approached. Looking at the expression of household leader, Ergo also felt incredulous. Jiang Li said he was demonizing him. He said when a person's heart is completely consumed by desire, they will become a demonic creature. At this moment, the household leader went into a violent rampage, emitting monster-like roars. Under his fierce expression, saliva dripped from the corners of his mouth. Jiang Li slowly reached out his hand. His fingers landed on the head of the household leader. The household leader instantly couldn't move. He recited, "Clean," and the household leader returned to its original state. But he fell to the ground afterwards. He lost his original consciousness. Jiang Li told them not to come over, indicating that the matter is not over yet. At that moment, a yellow skin suddenly appeared on the statue. Its deep double pupils seems to have a kind of magic in peeking into their souls. Ergo too became awkward. They were drawn into it. The pupils slowly dilated. Jiang Li found himself in a fantasy world. In front of him was a golden full moon. He silently gazed ahead. From within the mist came a voice. A woman in a green attire with blooming floral patterns and a pleated skirt in the misty water and green grass, with a slender waist and delicate steps, slowly approached. This comic is definitely a masterpiece in the history of Chinese comic. Don't miss it for sure. Just now, a female monster slowly emerged from the mist in front of Jiang Li. She said that everyone is a cultivator, and asked Jiang Li why he wanted to ruin her good fortune. Jiang Li snorted and asked her if cultivation is about eating people. The female monster looked shy and said she doesn't have that big of an appetite, indicating that she only had a little bit. Sweetheart. She then pointed at the household leader and said. She said that she had trained this pet for a long time, and asked Jiang Li how he should compensate her. Jiang Li said that he just knocked it out and indicated that it would wake up soon. But female Yogwai said that the demonic chi had dissipated, so even if it woke up, it wouldn't help. She said that they might as well eat it to avoid wasting its essence. Her hand then transformed into sharp claws. And when Jiang Li pinched his fingers and flicked his hand slightly, a burst of vital chi emerged from the front of the household leader, pushing the female Yogwai aside. The female Yogwai's expression changed as she said that he was determined to oppose her. Jiang Li said that he couldn't just stand by and watch him being eaten. The female Yogwai sneered and asked him if he knew the person on the ground. At the age of 15, he killed his own companion for a bun. At the age of 25, he killed his master and his family of 5 for a secret manual. After becoming an outlaw, he committed all sorts of atrocities, including rape and plunder. 3 villages were massacred by him, leaving their residents in dire straits. The people suffered greatly under such a villain. She asked if Jiang Li still needed protection. Jiang Li said it's not about needing protection for him, but rather preventing her from killing him. The female monster was extremely surprised. She said he has a big mouth, only to see white smoke coming out of her mouth, extremely eerie. She spread out her hands and immediately disappeared into a thick fog. Suddenly, countless skeletons appeared around Jiang Li. Female Yogwai expressed that she only showed him some respect because they were both cultivators. Did he really think she was afraid of him? Skeleton heads floated around female Yogwai, and Jiang Li thought to himself that it was actually an illusion. He remarked that it was quite a spectacle. He then mentioned that although illusions were spectacular, they had a downside. Female Yogwai immediately launched an attack and asked him what the downside was. Smoke billowed from the skulls as they swarmed towards Jiang Li. In the next second, the skulls appeared right in front of Jiang Li. When those skulls were about to crash into him, they vanished into thin air right in front of him. He said they were all show and no substance. He indicated that as long as he didn't believe in them, they wouldn't exist. The female demon laughed out loud. Just then, a pair of hands grabbed Jiang Li. He found that the 2 bandits from earlier were locking him tightly. The younger brother continued to bite his forearm, and the female Yogwai said that the so-called illusion should illusory and real, both true and illusory. The female Yogwai transformed from her original form of a yellow weasel to move closer to Jiang Li. After getting near, she transformed into a human form and charmingly asked him how he felt. She licked her lips, revealing her fiery red lips. And the next second, she revealed a fierce face and asked him how he should compensate. At this moment, female Yogwai's claw touched the 8 trigram seal. She sensed something was amiss. Her expression changed, and with Jiang Li's sealing shout, in that instant, female Yogwai was sucked into it. She appeared by the wide and deep river. She was puzzled, and at this moment, a voice came from beside her. She noticed the mountain monster beside her, only to see it holding its head in its hands. It made a whimpering sound. Female Yogwai thought to herself, "Where am I?" Just then, the tide became turbulent as a Jiaolong appeared, its body agile and its claws mighty. Jiaolong rolled on top of the surging and billowing azure waves. Jiaolong has deep and profound eyes, long flowing beard, with a breathtaking momentum and a fierce aura. It glares angrily at the female Yogwai. Female Yogwai is puzzled.
Could this also be an illusion?
Jiang Li said.
This is what she described as both real and illusory.
Just as female Yogwai was contemplating, she was suddenly reverted back to her original form. She was in a panic. She expressed that she didn't want to transform back to this state again. She was unwilling and clamoring about her lost Dharma body and spiritual power. Jiang Li asked her if she knew about the silver-eyed Qilin. The female Yogwai begged Jiang Li for mercy, stating that she had never harmed a good person. And a whirlwind gradually intensified, gradually transforming into the 8-trigram seal. And this seal is on Jiang Li's chest. He touched it. After that, he sighed. He thought to himself that she probably didn't know either. Look at the majestic Jiao Long effortlessly subduing the yellow weasel spirit, followed by an increase in the speed of the cyclone, gradually transforming into an 8-trigram seal. He thinks of himself as a little monster who won't live to be 100 years old. It dares to cultivate the human heart for the demonic creature to feed on. He expressed that if allowed to grow up, won't it cause chaos in the human world? The battlefield after the war is a mess. Jiang Li told the two people on the ground to get up. They rubbed their eyes and looked bewildered. Jiang Li said there was a good job opportunity for them to do. In the blink of an eye, North Commandery Master of Myriad Tiger Fortress. The bailiff looked at the portrait in his hand with astonishment. Reward of 3,000 guan. One of the bailiffs said it looks a bit like him. Looking at this non-human-shaped lump, it shows that he is not a powerful bandit, and it is unfair to his body. Ergo repeatedly agreed, saying that the official's eyesight is really good. The runner said that this is a notorious thief with a reward of 3,000 strings of cash. The runners were surprised that they actually caught him. At this point, the runners noticed the talisman on the household leader's head. He was ready to go up and remove it. Ergo asked him not to remove it, saying that it was a soul-suppressing talisman posted by a mortal master. As soon as the words fell, the talisman was torn off. The constable seemed pensive, then was greatly surprised, only to see on the talisman, it was written the two men were also thieves. The two constables looked at each other in the eye. Soon they both smiled mysteriously. Ergo, the two of them looked puzzled, still thinking about the reward. And the bailiff asked them to enter the house for a detailed discussion. In the Department of Orthodoxy, they saw an old man with a long beard, playing with an object in his hand. Just at that moment, he asked the young man in front of him,
"What brings you here?"
Jiang Li is carrying the head of the mountain monster. He said he wants to ask him how much these two are worth. Soon after, the shopkeeper took out the money, indicating that it's not silver or copper, but gold. He also said that without a demon exorcising token from Honshu, he presumably lacks the qualification to hunt Yogwai. Jiang Li looked at the money pouch and thought to himself that 75 taels is not a small amount. The old man said that the money from the Prefecture Department of Orthodoxy is absolutely genuine. Jiang Li, holding the money, seemed to be pondering something. He then put the money back into the pouch. As he was about to leave, he noticed the locust wood on the table. The old man said he had good eyesight. The old man said that this thing is not commonly seen now. In the past, it was a nourishing and soul-housing treasure that nurtured the soul spirit. The main material is this locust wood. The old man lamented again, saying that no one knows how to make it now. Jiang Li asked him how much it costs. The shopkeeper asked in confusion,
"Do you understand these?"
Jiang Li nodded in response. The corners of his mouth slightly lifted. The shopkeeper said that if he had the soul spirit of Yogwai, he is willing to pay 2,000 gold coins in exchange. And Jiang Li said the soul, it cannot be used for trading. The shopkeeper cautiously asked him,
"Did you really catch a Yogwai soul?"
Jiang Li remained silent for a moment and said no. He suggested discussing the current business and asked how much the locust wood would cost. The old man casually said 75 gold. Jiang Li spoke without thinking. He then pushed the money pouch out. The old man said he was indeed generous, indicating that if he wanted to earn more, there was a job he could introduce to him. The old man then handed out the locust wood. The bells on the eaves were tinkling in the wind. Only to see the big man in the courtyard, his weapon was cut off, and he suddenly had no ability to resist. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood. Jiang Li smiled. He found it quite interesting, meaning with just this skill, he also wants to come here to make a living? That person said not to underestimate the Department of Orthodoxy. Jiang Li silently gazed at him. He turned to ask,
"Does Jiang Li also want to freeload?"
Jiang Li was about to introduce himself. And at this moment, the tip of the sword had reached his straw hat. Jiang Li snorted coldly. The man said he doesn't care who he is and wants to show his skills before entering. At this moment, Jiang Li moved. In an instant, he broke the tip of the sword. He waved his small hand. The man looked surprised. The man said he was quite capable. Then he assumed a fighting stance, indicating that it was a good opportunity for him to stretch his muscles. At this moment, the man was called out. The person speaking asked him to step back. Jiang Li gazed at the person who was speaking. The man also looked back in panic. I saw a woman in a long black robe and elegant brocade standing on the attic, giving off a sense of elegance and luxury. She asked if it was Jiang Li recommended by Toad Guard. This comic can fulfill your fantasies of Chinese style. The Department of Orthodoxy is an organization dedicated to eradicating abnormal creatures and protecting the people unless there is an outbreak. 7 days ago, they received intelligence that xianxia were appearing in Startled Bird Mountain. The department sent people out to investigate, but up to today, there has been no news or information. They only heard a horse neigh, and they arrived at the xianxia haunt. Startled Bird Mountain Old Zhao said,
"Since it's xianxia, rest and recuperate here. We'll enter the village tomorrow."
The Tiger Emblem Guard agreed with his words. She then asked everyone to dismount and start recuperating. On a dark night with a strong wind, a Feng said to Jiang Li,
"The old man in front of us is a well-known corpse-driving sorcerer. If this isn't about raising xianxia, please ask him to help us."
Jiang Li remained silent. A Feng said that Jiang Li's kung fu is not bad, so he asked where he learned it from. Jiang Li said that he learned it at the Spiritual Ruins Mountain. A Feng said he has never heard of it. Jiang Li mentioned that their sect has a small number of people. And at that moment, he sensed something strange. He said it's too quiet around here. He said it looks like they are not the only ones here, so it's best for a Feng to close his eyes. A Feng is confused. Jiang Li moved manually. Then he used sorcery. Lit up the surroundings. Everyone noticed something was wrong. Old Zhao panicked and said they are not human. Only to see xianxia walking out from beside the tree, climbing down from the treetop, numerous in number, too many to count, all with ferocious faces. The leading xianxia had red eyes. He slowly opened them, observing everyone. His mouth was panting heavily. The horse was startled by the xianxia in front of it, and the atmosphere suddenly became eerie. Tiger Emblem Guard remains calm and composed. She asked Jiang Li to keep the horses bright, watch over them, and have a Feng clean them up. A Feng smirked coldly. He gazed at the xianxia in front of him. He then drew out a long sword. He expressed that he could finally flex his muscles. The xianxia had a fierce expression and suddenly rushed forward. A Feng then began to fight back. The Tiger Emblem Guard continued to observe from the side. Old Zhao mentioned that they were not ordinary xianxia, as their movements were too agile. They needed to take a closer look. The Tiger Emblem Guard asked a Feng to let one in. After a Feng agreed, a xianxia let out a howl. It dashed towards Tiger Emblem Guard in the blink of an eye. As the sword hilt bell rang crisply, a chilling air enveloped everyone when the sword was unsheathed. A frost crane that condensed icy cold stream spread its wings and tore through the sky. Jiang Li couldn't believe it was actually the spiritual weapon Tiger Emblem Guard, and he muttered, "Lock." She then slowly retracted her sword, only to see the xianxia frozen in place by the frost, unable to move. She then asked Old Zhao to come forward and take a look. Old Zhao seemed pensive, carefully examining the infected villagers. Xianxia thought they must be the villagers from the village below. Being infected by corpse venom, they wouldn't last long given the alarming rate of transformation into undead creatures. Tiger Emblem Guard asked how he was doing. Old Zhao replied that he probably understood the situation. He said that after these villagers died, their bodies had not yet stiffened and had already undergone post-mortem changes, which is why their movements were so agile. But he also said it doesn't matter, as long as we find the source of the corpse venom and clean it up. He then took out a talisman. He pasted the talisman on the xianxia's forehead. He indicated that it would lead them to find it. The ice cube shattered accordingly. Tiger Emblem Guard Old Zhao follows behind the xianxia. A Feng finishes cleaning up the battlefield, while Jiang Li gazes to the side, lost in thought. The sky becomes dark and gloomy, giving off a slightly eerie vibe. Old Zhao shakes the bell, directing the movements of the xianxia. The surrounding silence made Old Zhao sense clues. He was surprised that the people in the village had disappeared. A Feng said that all the villagers must have turned into xianxia and fled. Jiang Li said it's not necessarily the case. He said not all bodies contaminated with corpse venom will turn into xianxia. A Feng then said,
"So they were eaten?"
He was amazed and said,
"How much meat can they eat in a day?"
Jiang Li replied that xianxia only feed on blood and vital energy. Old Zhao was surprised, and Jiang Li understood this but kept looking ahead, thinking it was too quiet. There were not even poultry carcasses around. At this moment, the advancing xianxia suddenly went silent. Old Zhao noticed, and then witnessed a shocking scene that left everyone stunned. In ancient times, the Wu tribe could control the power of the stars, and the sun and moon. They mastered the three stars technique, and could descend divinely through their dance. The crowd was shocked by the scene before them, as they saw a figure in the mist. It revealed its deep, profound eyes. All the xianxia present instantly became ferocious, and the atmosphere suddenly became eerie. They thought to themselves that things were not looking good. The figure in the fog raised its hand, then slowly lowered it. A large number of xianxia creatures surged forward, overwhelming Old Zhao. In a panic, the Tiger Emblem Guard ordered them to retreat. At this moment, the xianxia creatures opened their enormous mouths and rushed towards the Tiger Emblem Guard. The scene appeared extremely terrifying, with the xianxia creatures baring their teeth and claws. They subsequently retreated, and the xianxia they controlled were torn into pieces. The xianxia caught up and opened its mouth, revealing its fangs. A Feng wielded his sword towards the head of the xianxia, but only a sword mark was left on the face of the xianxia. A Feng was extremely surprised. At this moment, the xianxia became extremely violent and rushed towards him. And at that moment, the xianxia was chopped in half by the Tiger Emblem Guard. She told A Feng to be careful. A Feng asked why these xianxia are so stiff. Old Zhao said they are not ordinary xianxia. The body is covered in red fur, the claws and fangs resemble beasts, and the skin is as tough as iron. The so-called iron corpse of Feng requires at least 200 years of cultivation before it can be achieved. How come there are so many? I only see them slowly being surrounded by groups of xianxia. Old Zhao looked at the sky and said, "Just hold on a little longer. When the sun rises, they will retreat." The moment sunlight shines upon the earth, the horde of zombies revealed a look of agony. They then fled into the depths of the jungle. But A Feng was somewhat unwilling to accept it. Old Zhao is concerned about everyone's injuries. A Feng noticed that Jiang Li was not present and wondered where the kid had gone. Meanwhile, on the side, a xianxia with a huge mouth was being controlled by Jiang Li using sorcery. Push it back. Gradually, he revealed his original appearance, then slowly fell to the ground. And there were countless villagers like Jiang Li beside him. Jiang Li fell silent for a moment. He asked the onlookers beside him to come forward. However, there was no movement at all. Jiang Li asked him,
"Aren't you hungry?"
but the person still didn't move. Jiang Li told him to hide well, and then prepared to leave. At this time, words were heard from inside the hole, asking Jiang Li if there really is food. How many people buried those villagers? At this time, a Feng noticed behind him. Following that, he greeted Jiang Li and asked where he had just been. Old Zhao asked him if he was injured. Jiang Li replied that he was not injured. A Feng asked him who the person behind him was. Said why he looked like a ghost. Jiang Li is introducing. He is called Ground Rat. He said he knows some information about this place, but he is a bit hungry. It's best to give him some dry food so he can eat while chatting. Only to see a Feng looking serious, while old Zhao said,
"It seems like this child is really hungry."
Only to see Ground Rat eating ravenously, completely disregarding conversation. Jiang Li told him to slow down and indicated that there is still plenty here. A Feng frowned, looking a bit unable to continue watching, so he told him to eat faster, but he kept asking for water. Later, Ground Rat said that about a month ago, he and third uncle planned to come here to dig for some local goods. A Feng asked him what local goods are. Tiger Emblem Guard said it is tomb robbing. Then she told him to continue. Ground Rat said that after coming to this place, third uncle looked at the mountains here and said that there was a big fortune beneath them. And that tomb was very deep. They dug for 3 days and 3 nights before they finally opened it. Third uncle asked him to shine the light above while he went down to collect the goods. As a result, after third uncle went down into the hole, he let out a scream, telling him to run quickly. And after he shouted third uncle a few times, there was no response from below. Afterward, he didn't dare to move and just waited until morning. He was discovered by villagers who were going up the mountain to collect firewood, and they realized that he was a tomb robber. The villagers brought him back to the village and locked him up. It's unknown how long passed. When he opened his eyes, he first heard the barking of dogs, followed by people's crying and screaming everywhere, and then all noise ceased. After some time, a figure slowly walked towards him. He thought it was someone coming to rescue him, but it turned out to be third uncle. Rumor has it that there are often demons and strange creatures in ancient tombs. But it doesn't stop some people from taking risks. Ground Rat saw third uncle again and called out his name in confusion. Then, third uncle suddenly extended its claws and opened its mouth to pounce, which frightened him and made him shiver on the side. Just then, the sound of a sword's edge was heard. Ground Rat slowly opened his eyes and saw a noble-looking man. The man was surprised to see that he was still alive. Later, the man took him out of the village. Along the way, all the villagers they encountered turned into xianxia. The man told him to hurry up. Suddenly, a strange figure floated in front of him. It was as tall as 2 people, dressed in clothing that did not belong to any era, and moved gracefully like a cat, as if it had always been there. At this moment, the man was wary of it, while the strange figure stared back at him. Its deep eyes seemed to see through the soul of the man. The man sensed that the situation was not good. He quickly told him to leave. Then he rushed forward to battle the mysterious creature. Ground Rat said he couldn't forget that scene, indicating that he risked his life to save him, yet he didn't even know his name. Jiang Li listened attentively, seeming to ponder something. At this moment, a Feng said his name is Tai Xian. Ground Rat looked at him in astonishment. A Feng said that the one who saved him is his brother. He remained silent, but his hand firmly gripped the sword hilt. He indicated that they had rested enough and then ordered the Tiger Emblem Guard to set out. However, the Tiger Emblem Guard advised him not to act impulsively. She stated that their purpose in coming here was to eliminate it, but the condition was to withdraw safely. Feng agreed to it. Then they discussed how to proceed. The sunlight filtered through the branches. Old Zhao said that xianxia are afraid of sunlight, and it's best to find their nest before noon. Then let him use a talisman to seal its glabella. That's all. At this point, Feng pointed to something strange in front. Old Zhao turned his head and widened his eyes, feeling incredulous, only to see that tree trunk that had withered yesterday. It was covered in flowers overnight, astonishing everyone. Feng was puzzled about what he encountered yesterday, wondering what exactly it was. It looked like a person, but was so tall. The Tiger Emblem Guard said that based on the physique and attire, it should be from the Wu tribe. Old Zhao is a bit excited, saying that they have unearthed a tomb belonging to the Wu tribe. He excitedly mentioned that they can go down and see the ancient tomb of the Wu tribe. Tiger Emblem Guard suggested that there might be a divine artifact inside, but he mentioned that they came here to solve the issue of xianxia. Old Zhao quickly changed his words and said that they came here to solve the issue, but deep down he seemed to be pondering about something. Feng said,
"Then let's take action quickly."
Just at that moment, Tiger Emblem Guard noticed something unusual and turned to look. They only saw a blurry figure behind them, slowly approaching. Feng asked her what was wrong. The Tiger Emblem Guard, with tears in his eyes, mentioned Taishian. Feng then turned his head to look. He was extremely frightened. I saw Taishian looking like a walking corpse, surrounded by deathly aura. At this moment, Taishian opened his eyes. A strong killing intent hit him. Is there anyone from your childhood you most want to defeat? At this time, the two stood in the cold wind. Feng keeps calling out for his brother, but Taishian still remains expressionless. Feng's eyes are filled with tears. He stares at the hilt behind Taishian. The dragon head on the hilt represents a certain meaning. He then found himself lost in memories. It was a bamboo grove where sounds of fighting could be heard. Taishian trains him every day. At this moment, Feng bristled with energy. When the bamboo sticks clashed, Taishian said,
"Is this all you've got?" He urged him to work harder.
Feng then leaped into the air and unleashed a move called
the Soaring Dragon,
pouncing to attack. Taishian coldly snorted. He casually grabbed a nearby bamboo. He effortlessly blocked it. He held the bamboo stick in his hand and instantly blocked Feng's throat. Taishian said that's it for today, indicating that he was off duty. Feng, however, was not convinced, saying that if the sword was real, he would have won. Following that, he decided to use a real sword for another battle. Taishian asked him what real sword. Feng said, "Aren't there two swords?" He said give him another one and let's have another match. Taishian asked him not to mess around. He said the demon-slaying blade is a ceremonial sword of the Department of Orthodoxy. How could he play around with it? Feng then wanted to use the Roaring Iron, but was also rejected by Taishian. He said that the Roaring Iron is the ancestral sword of the Tai tribe, and only the strongest in sword arts within the family can wear and wield it. He said that he doesn't even have the qualifications to touch it now. He asked him to work harder and said that if he can defeat Roaring Iron, it will belong to him. Then he showed a brilliant smile. At this moment, Feng looked at his now bewitched big brother and vowed that he would not lose this time. He then drew out his weapon. He assumed a fighting stance, only to see the surrounding Qi raging wildly, extremely eerie. He stared with bloodshot eyes. He rushed towards Feng at an extremely fast speed. Feng was shocked by the momentum. At that moment, the Tiger Emblem Guard wielded Frost Crane and stood in front of him, the cry of cranes echoing throughout the world. At this moment, the Taishian demonic Qi billowed. Feng looked at her in astonishment. The Tiger Emblem Guard said he was not Taishian's opponent and asked her to come forward. Department of Orthodoxy, Yi Prefecture, Martial Examination. The two people facing each other are indeed them. Taishian clasped his hands together and asked her for guidance. flashes of blades and shadows of swords within their movements. The two of them were engaged in an intense and fast-paced battle. The Tiger Emblem guard tightly grasped the sword in hand. Just at that moment, their battle was halted. At this moment, the person in charge announced that both of them had been accepted. Xian cautiously asked for her name. She said her name is Xiao Redrobe. The round moon in the night sky sheds infinite clear brilliance. Xiao Redrobe asked Xian why he wanted to see her. Xian hesitated, holding a red flower, and asked her if she liked him. The battle at that moment grew more intense. Old Zhao asked A Feng to go up together, indicating that they should quickly resolve the issue. A Feng said that without her orders, they shouldn't act on their own, especially since they still have other matters to resolve. Xiao Redrobe recalled. At that time, Xian always cared about her. He also went to the market to buy a hairpin for her. He said she would definitely look good wearing it. At this moment, Xian's attack pierced through Xiao Redrobe's headgear. A chill appeared around her. At this time, the swords and blades fell, blocked by her. At this time, she felt deeply saddened in her heart. Xiao Redrobe recalled the past. In autumn, Xiao Redrobe asked Xian,
"Do you have to go?"
Xian replied,
"With this military achievement, I can be promoted to Tiger Emblem Guard."
Then he will go to her house to propose. Xiao Redrobe asked him not to work so hard. She said she doesn't care about honors. And Xian said he cares. He said he didn't want to argue with his family because of himself. Later, he rode on horseback and entrusted A Feng to her. He expressed that he would come back to marry her when the flowers bloomed. At this point, Xian had been immobilized by Xiao Redrobe using Frost Crane. She gazed silently at him, indicating that she would take good care of A Feng. The demonic Xian had empty eyes, while Xiao Redrobe tightly grasped the sword. She endured the pain and torment in her heart, expressing,
"Let him rest in peace."
Just then, the wind swept up the petals, scattering them in all directions. A Feng was extremely frightened and asked Xiao Redrobe to be careful of what was behind them. When she turned around to look, only to see Wu appearing silently behind her. There are many unknown things in this world, gradually dissipating with time. The midday sun is bright, shining on the treetops. Ground Rat asked why Jiang Li wasn't with them. Jiang Li said he wanted to send him to a safe place first, and then meet up with them. He expressed that it was too dangerous there. Ground Rat is a bit confused, saying that Jiang sure only appears at night, right? But now it's daytime, so there shouldn't be any problem, right? And Jiang Li said that this time is different. Ground Rat is completely confused. Jiang Li slowly raised her head and said,
"Even if they turn into xianxia, they will not fear the sun's true fire."
After all, in ancient times, they were known for controlling the power of the stars, sun, and moon, mastering the three celestial bodies. They are able to perform the dance of divine descent. Jiang Li couldn't help but exclaim, "The once beautiful and powerful life." The leaves slowly fall down, caught by Jiang Li with his hand. Ground Rat asked Jiang Li if he knows a lot about the Wu tribe. Jiang Li said his senior brother is from the Wu tribe, but then he said, now he can no longer call him senior brother. Then he threw away the leaves, indicating that he should continue on their journey first. The leaves drifted slowly towards the sky, while on the side of Xiao Redrobe, Wu was quietly floating in front of her. Everyone looked on in disbelief. Wu's deep and charming eyes seemed to be able to penetrate their souls, just at that moment. Wu waved his hand to signal to Xiao Redrobe, who then used Frost's sword to block. But this seems to be just a casual and elusive effort. Wu then pushed her back several meters. She struggled to withstand it, and then coughed. A hint of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. A Feng asked how she was doing. Her gaze sharpened as she said she was fine. At this moment, Wu touched Xian, who was frozen, with his fingertips. Xian then became furious. The next second, he broke free from the icy restraints and slowly stood up. At this moment, the tremendous sense of oppression and a terrifying killing intent made it hard to breathe. Xiao Redrobe asked everyone not to panic. Gradually, the sun was obscured by dark clouds, and the wind rose and clouds surged. A Feng panicked for a moment and said that the thing in front of him, it looks very difficult to deal with. At this moment, the atmosphere becomes eerie. Energy emerges from all sides. Its magical eyes gaze at them, and then it slowly reaches out its hand. Then it points to the sky, stunning everyone. The wind swirls among the lingering clouds, completely shrouding the sun. Old Zhao found it unbelievable, thinking how it could actually control heavenly phenomena. He was amazed by its abilities, fearing that it might be even more powerful than the legendary Halby's corpse lord. Just then, a pair of corpse hands emerged from the ground. Countless xianxia continuously crawled out from all around. They revealed their deep red fangs. At this moment, Jiang Li noticed something unusual and asked Ground Rat what was happening in the distance. Jiang Li thought to himself,
"It looks like it's time to act quickly."
Then he placed his hand on Ground Rat's body. He used a Taoist spell. Ground Rat was surprised and wondered what he was going to do. Jiang Li's legs were off the ground, appearing to levitate. Gradually, Ground Rat was also enveloped. As the speed increased, he also became blurry. They entered the jungle. The number of xianxia around Wu increased. They gradually surrounded Wu and the others. A Feng feels the situation is not good. Xiao Redrobe asked him to take old Zhao away. She said she would come to cover the rear, then she charged forward. A Feng caught up and signaled him to come. Xiao Redrobe said it's an order, watching the two argue incessantly. Old Zhao said at this time, there's no need for modesty. He said that if they separated, neither of them could escape, so let them both help by some time. Then he untied the white belt. Revealing the sealed left hand, he looked at the dense corpse chi here, wanting to awaken the corpse general in this place. A Feng was extremely surprised. Later, he came to his senses and agreed that old Zhao was right. He then summoned his talisman armor, and a vaporized armor appeared on a Feng's body. He said,
"Then let's fight. At worst, it's just death."
Rumors say that the cultivator passed away and retreated into seclusion to cultivate diligently and seek the Tao. When they appear in the world, major events are bound to happen. At this moment, a figure is moving at extreme speed, with Jiang Li seen dragging Ground Rat along. He is screaming in the air. His screams continue incessantly. Jiang Li asked him not to shout, indicating that they have already arrived. Ground Rat looked confused, staring at the horses in front of him and asked Jiang Li if they would be riding horses for the rest of the journey. Jiang Li told him to stay at this place. He said that he had set up a formation here himself, so he would be very safe. Ground Rat asked him if he still wanted to go back. People know very little about Wu. They probably won't be able to handle Ground Rat based solely on their fear. Ground Rat asked him to wait for a moment, and then caught up with him. At this moment, he was blocked by a barrier and looked stunned. He said Jiang Li couldn't shut him in here. Jiang Li said he would be back soon, and to wait if there were any matters to discuss. Jiang Li expressed curiosity about how he managed to evade those things. In the group of corpses, a Feng keeps killing. Old Zhao is chanting a blood spell, surrounded by floating inscriptions. His eerie hand also began to change. He said,
"The gates of the 9 nether hells have opened,"
and only saw his black hands. Gradually, there were bloodstains as if something was about to come out from inside. Old Zhao coldly shouted,
"Summon the Crimson Flame Lotus General."
With a shout of open, a skeleton-like demonic creature emerged from his palm. The ceremony is finished. He thought to himself,
"It worked."
The summoning object emitted white smoke, extremely eerie. The next second, he opened his eyes. Surrounded by flames, a celestial chi-like aura enveloped its surroundings. Old Zhao then instructed the two of them to step aside, while the corpse general named Crimson Corpse Fire Butterfly with green smoke billowing from its mouth, casually pinched and caused ripples of energy to emerge. Gradually, it transformed into a gold butterfly, which flicked its fingers forward. Upon touching the xianxia, the gold butterfly the golden light enveloped it, and then dissipated. Xiao Redrobe thought to herself,
Is it really mind commands, power obeys?
She was surprised. Is it possible that she is a cultivator? A Feng stood there dumbstruck. Old Zhao said that Crimson Butterfly is a corpse general refined from the remains of immortals, with his help, indicating that they may not necessarily lose. Just saw Gold Butterfly hovering in the air. The next second it flew towards the group of xianxia, and after being bathed in golden light, the xianxia instantly dissipated. A Feng saw hope. He felt there was still a fight to be had. But then he looked into the distance. Old Zhao suggested that the issue could be resolved without a confrontation. He said that although it was powerful, it was ultimately an inanimate object. Then, he took out a talisman and said that as long as it was placed on its head, covering its glabella, everything would come to an end. The corpse general transformed into a gold butterfly and floated towards Wu, looking down on them like a king's disdain. As the gold butterfly got closer, the enchanted Tai Xian rushed out. Just as they were about to make contact, a golden light exploded at Tai Xian's chest, as if it was about to melt him. At that moment, the sound of a crane's cry rang out. The frost crane rushed out from the golden light. Countless ice spikes appeared all around. In an instant, Xiao Redrobe held a talisman in his hand and flew towards Wu. Just as she was about to touch its glabella, its eyes seemed to gaze right into her soul. She felt a sense of unease. The deep red pupils kept swirling around, and then vanished into thin air in an instant. At this moment, the frost began to shatter. Xiao Redrobe turned around and looked back. I saw Tai Xian swinging his knife towards me. Just as the knife was about to fall, the knife was blocked by her with the frost crane, and Xiao Redrobe called out his name. She felt melancholic and distressed. And just as Wu disappeared, he quietly appeared next to Corpse General. A Feng was extremely surprised. Old Zhao immediately had Corpse General burn the body. Corpse General's mouth was filled with emerging energy. A tremendous shockwave spread out in all directions. After the shockwave passed, Old Zhao looked ahead in disbelief. He thought to himself,
Using wood to suppress fire?
He saw the flames around the corpse general being absorbed by the eerie wood summoned by Wu. In this world filled with rampant demons and instability, how many people can remain true to themselves? Old Zhao asks Corpse General to cremate himself. Wu then uses sorcery to trap Corpse General, only to see that the flames on Corpse General's body are all absorbed. Just at this moment, a lotus flower blooms from the flames. The vines around become thicker. Old Zhao was surprised and said,
Could this be the legendary fire golden lotus?
He remarked that the lotus seeds are priceless. Spiritual creature of Feng interjected,
It's time to focus on what's important now. Why concern yourself with trivial matters?
He then wielded his weapon and began to hack away. But his weapon was torn apart by Tongue Man. A Feng thought,
Damn this broken knife.
Old Zhao saw the situation. He threw out a sword blade. A Feng looked back and caught it in the air. Then he took the knife out from the handle. He felt the sharpness of the blade. Old Zhao asked him to cut off those vines, release the corpse general, and let A Feng do his best. So Golden Lotus is Wu's target for this trip. He kept swinging his sword at Tongue Man, but then Wu raised his hand. That's when Xiao Redrobe appeared behind him, and Fire Lotus launched the attack. Xiao Redrobe then used Frost Crane to strike back. In an instant, both Tongue Man and Wu were frozen by the frost. Xiao Redrobe gazed at Wu, and Wu's pupils seemed to have lost that charm. At this moment, Old Zhao hastily said,
Quickly use the talisman to seal its glabella.
And Xiao Redrobe is watching. Tai Xian, who is enchanted from a distance, is experiencing a myriad of emotions in his heart. A thing sees the situation and indicates that the big brother will handle it. As the swords clashed, old Zhao roared loudly.
Can't hold it for too long. Don't think about killing it completely.
Xiao Redrobe casually took the talisman. Just then, a cracking sound came from the air. I saw the ice lotus start to shatter. Wu's pupils also returned to their blood-red color. Xiao Redrobe noticed something unusual. Old Zhao also felt that something big was not right. Just then, a gold butterfly drifted out. The gold butterfly unexpectedly drifted toward Xiao Redrobe. The huge energy waves scattered in all directions. Old Zhao hurried up to support. He looked ahead incredulously. The corpse general gazed at them eerily, ready to launch an attack at any moment. The mark on his glabella is fading. This indicates that old Zhao has lost control of the corpse general, and suddenly the corpse general has red pupils as deep as Wu's. At this moment, the flames around grew increasingly violent, with a huge sense of oppression floating in the air. Old Zhao was at a loss as the heat flowed around them. Injured Xiao Redrobe told him not to panic, saying she had one last trick up her sleeve. She mentioned that the sword named Frost Sword was a spiritual weapon prepared for her by the family. It was also a gift from her uncle. Uncle said this is what she deserves, showing that she is quite capable. Becoming a female Tiger Emblem guard at the age of 25 really gives their family Xiao some face. He also said that before, the family urged her to get married, also for the sake of the family. And now that she has been promoted to Tiger Emblem guard, it means her marriage can be left up to her discretion. He also let her take charge of the family matters. Hong Shang nodded in agreement. Then her eldest uncle took out a book called
Sword Mantra and Inner Scripture,
containing the insights and discoveries the clan had researched over the years, and handed it over to her for safekeeping. He also mentioned the usage of the spiritual weapon, and how the Xiao family had a secret technique inherited from their ancestors, obtained during their study of the Tao. I saw Xiao Redrobe holding Frost Crane, seemingly indicating an offense. She bit her finger. She drew blood on the sword, and upon contact with the blood, the sword shattered. And this technique extracts the soul of the spiritual weapon and merges it into one's own soul. Just then, Xiao Redrobe's hands underwent a transformation as a pair of wings unfolded behind her. As time passed, Frost Crane possessed her physical body. When she opened her eyes, she completed the soul fusion. At this moment, her physical body had all turned into a spiritual weapon. The soul fusion technique is a secret technique of the Xiao family. Although she was able to soul fusion and possess, she can slay powerful enemies, but she has no solution to the art of the soul. At this moment, Xiao Redrobe's physical body is entirely a spiritual weapon. She gazes at the side of the golden lotus. She casually waves it. A frosty pillar appeared in front. She asked old Zhao for a talisman. He handed it to her, and she asked him to step back. At this point, the cold air around reached its peak. She gazed at Wu, while Wu's eyes showed disdain. Xiao Redrobe transforms into Frost Crane, flying out with a huge energy fluctuation spreading out, and a cold frosty airflow surges in the air. Suddenly, a huge explosion occurred. At this moment, Ground Rat was feeling very frustrated as he had been trapped here by Jiang Li for a long time. He was wondering where he had slipped up. Just then, he heard a voice behind him. Seeing the situation, Ground Rat quickly paid his respects to the leader. The person in front of him was Toad Guard, who was the leader. It's his master again. Later, Toad Guard asked him,
"How is the matter being handled?"
Ground Rat casually said,
"A month ago, 2 the Third and others arrived at Startled Bird Mountain to search for tombs. They settled in Locust Shade Village. 15 days ago, the ancient tomb was opened by them, and in order to prevent leaks, they killed 97 villagers of Locust Shade Village. After opening the coffins, the Wu tribe's xianxia were awakened. 2 the Third and 27 other tomb raiders were all poisoned by corpse venom. 7 days ago, dog guard Tai Xian from the market guard arrived at the scene and engaged in a battle. The commander interrupted Ground Rat and said he already knew all this. He asked if they found out who instigated the tomb raid. Ground Rat said he only knew that someone paid 1,000 gold to seek a treasure in the tomb. The commander asked what it was.
Ground Rat said he didn't know. The leader then asked him to lead the way to the tomb, but Ground Rat remained indifferent. The leader was puzzled why he did not walk. Ground Rat scratched his head and said that a formation was placed here, indicating that he couldn't leave. The leader pondered, with autumn leaves covering the ground. At this moment, a drop of blood slowly fell, and a Feng was seen supporting his injured arm, looking at his elder brother, Tai Xian, who had been enchanted and had his eyes closed as if there was no movement. At this moment, he looked towards Sister Xiao on the side, only to see continuous frost enveloping the surroundings, freezing everything, with chilling air rising and ice cones emerging from the crevices. The corpse general was also frozen in place and unable to move, while Wu's hands were holding the wings of Xiao Redrobe. Just saw her supporting herself on the ground. She kept coughing. And old Zhao's talisman has been pasted on Wu's glabella. At this moment, she struggles to get up. The howling of the cold wind is coming from all sides, only to see the ice cones begin to shatter, slowly falling from all around Xiao Redrobe. And as she turned her head to look, her gaze became sharp. A Feng was surprised by what had happened to her. Just then, the soul-capturing chime rang. Wu seemed to be controlled by the sound of the bell, as his red pupils flickered for a moment. It bit down on Xiao Redrobe's neck in one swift motion. Ripples surged around, causing ice spikes to scatter. A Feng screamed his heart out calling for Sister Xiao, but the ringing became more intense. Behind him, Tai Xian launched an attack against a Feng, stirring up waves in the icy land. The person shaking the soul-capturing bell is old Zhao. At this moment, he is smiling strangely, saying that he has truly gotten it. He laughed heartily, and said that he unexpectedly encountered such an opportunity. In this turbulent and unsettled world, people are often deceived by a little bit of personal gain and hide their true intentions. At this moment, Zhao Huayin chuckled cunningly, actually allowing him to obtain such an opportunity. A Feng was furious, and asked Zhao Huayin why he would betray them. Zhao Huayin coldly snorted, saying that they paid money and he put in the effort. Isn't this just a business deal? He pointed at Wu and asked a Feng if he knew the value of that thing. He then mentioned that he had already promised someone to retrieve an item from this tomb for them. He coldly snorted again, saying that he actually wasn't surnamed Zhao. At that moment, the mark of Xiao Redrobe emitted a bright light. In the blink of an eye, she arrived beside Zhao Huayin. Just as she reached out with her hand to grab him, Xiao Redrobe was bound in place by vines. Zhao Huayin thought it was close. He was surprised that she could still break free and counterattack even after all that. He said that this trip was really worth it, then burst into laughter. He said it wasn't a waste to get this rare corpse even if he had to sacrifice his right hand for it. A Feng was surprised, thinking that he wanted to turn them into xianxia. Zhao Huayin, however, said it was not the case. He said he was just waiting to offer blood sacrifices and prepare offerings. And when refining xianxia, he said that Xiao Redrobe is the best material. At this point, her spiritual consciousness conveyed words, asking him to release a Feng. Zhao Huayin was extremely surprised and said that he had no choice but to do so. Otherwise, her spiritual consciousness will be assimilated by the Yogui soul, and she will degrade into a wild beast that only knows slaughter. It is better to be refined by him. He mentioned the family Zhao's soul fusion technique, and said that it wasn't the first time he had seen it. He mentioned that it was 25 years ago. For only a small sum of 100 or so silver, he took on the Department of Orthodox's demon-banishing script and participated in an operation. The leader is a member of the Xiao family, Xiao Qingde, also known as the War Tiger of the Western Commandery, along with their family head, Xiao Qingting. At the beginning, everyone was unclear about the mission. They were only instructed to intercept a person, They recruited dozens of skilled individuals from the Jianghu and the Department of Orthodoxy, totaling at least 30 to 40. They thought it was just about stopping one person, and everyone felt relaxed. Later on, they found out otherwise. They were trying to stop an immortal cultivator, a celestial being who had achieved enlightenment. The immortal was the corpse general Crimson Butterfly that he had refined. At this moment, the immortal asked them why they were blocking the way and what their intentions were. The xianxia that he had painstakingly refined turned into ashes in an instant, leaving them unaware and more than half of them dead or injured. Just saw a gold butterfly flying in the air. Just conceal and disperse everyone. As the mission appeared to be failing, Xianxia used a secret technique, soul fusion. He slowly transformed and instantly merged with the Yogui beast, astonishing the immortals with the soul fusion technique. Subsequently, the remaining people cooperated with Xianxia to kill the immortal master. But then Xianxia was assimilated by the Yogui soul and lost his original spiritual consciousness. He began to kill his fellow companions. Just as he was about to kill Xianxia, he was stopped by Xiao Qingting. Xiao Qingting said that after his soul fusion, his spiritual consciousness was affected by the Yogui soul and became unclear. Zhao Huayan then asked what to do, just as he was contemplating. Just then, he spurted out a mouthful of blood, and Xiao Qingting ended him with a sword. He said that this was a secret of the Xiao family and should not be leaked. But Xiao Qingting was unaware that his heart was naturally located on the right side, and the sword struck slightly off target. In addition, he had learned the art of feigning death from the corpse sect since childhood, which saved his life by a hair's breadth. Later, he and those corpses were sealed in a cave. Thanks to those corpses, he managed to escape from the cave. He learned that Xiao Qingting had been promoted to a tiger emblem guard and succeeded as the head of the Xiao family. He could only hide his identity and live in seclusion in the mountains. Until recent years, hearing that he had resigned from the Department of Orthodoxy and was recuperating in seclusion, he dared to come out of hiding, change his name, and resume his activities in the martial world. A Feng asked him if this was for revenge. He said that it had nothing to do with Xiao Redrobe. Zhao Huayan chuckled coldly and said, "What revenge do I have to seek?" He mentioned that, if anything, he should thank Xiao Qingting, because he taught himself a rule: no matter what you do, as long as nobody speaks of it, it doesn't exist. If he is powerful enough, even if it is known by others, no one would dare to believe. He then looked at Wu, expressing gratitude for the opportunity to assist, and that he could establish his own business, one that is no less than that of the Xiao family's legacy. He also said that now is a time of great change in Ye Prefecture, and they are the pillar of the Department of Orthodoxy. Their Qilin is about to fall. A Feng is extremely terrified. Zhao Huayan laughed heartily, saying that a new era is about to come, and he is certain to accomplish extraordinary feats. And at this moment, his words were interrupted. The person asking about the color of the Qilin's eyes. Zhao Huayan was extremely surprised. He turned his head to look. I saw Jiang Li sitting on the treetop without knowing when he had climbed up. Jiang Li said that he meant to. Did he just say that Qilin's eyes are silver? Cultivator who has passed away in seclusion, practicing asceticism to seek the Tao, will surely stir up turmoil upon appearing in the world. At this moment, the Hutode guard has touched the barrier. He said, this should be a secret technique recorded in the classics. Imprisoned by boundaries. I didn't expect that after more than 20 years, they would set foot in the mortal world again. With that, he sighed. Ground Rat was puzzled. He said, are cultivators those who practice sorcery like sorcerers? What's so surprising about that? Master also knows a lot about formations and secret arts, right? Toad Guard replied that he had only glimpsed a bit of Daoist spells from ancient scrolls, and cultivators were not swindlers in the Jianghu who deceived others with a bit of sorcery and talismans. He said that when he mentioned cultivators, he was referring to a group of people who have passed away and secluded themselves, striving for enlightenment through arduous cultivation. Madmen who seek immortality. Jiang Li gazed at Zhao Huayin from the tree. Zhao Huayin was surprised that Jiang Li had actually come back. And Feng urgently asked him to go save Sister Xiao. Jiang Li pays attention afterwards. Then he looked with his silver double pupils. He thought it was actually soul fusion. Zhao Huayin also looked toward Xiao Redrobe beside him. The atmosphere became extremely quiet. When he turned his head, Jiang Li had already walked past him and went toward Xiao Redrobe. Zhao Huayin looked bewildered. He felt uneasy looking at Jiang Li in his heart. Jiang Li noticed that Xiao Redrobe's spiritual consciousness was assimilated by the Yogwai soul. He said that this kind of evil and heretical thing should not be used casually. He expressed that this is very dangerous. He casually pressed it on her head. He chanted dispel. And at this moment, Zhao Huayin paid attention to the back. He pondered for a moment, and then he shook the soul-capturing bell. In an instant, the corpse general controlled by the soul-capturing bell released a gold butterfly. Feng shouted for Jiang Li to pay attention to what was behind. Jiang Li slowly turned around, and a huge burst of energy exploded around him. The rising heat flow is flowing in the air, and Zhao Huayin's laughter keeps coming at this moment. Aqing only felt that Jiang Li came from an extraordinary background. He never expected that he was actually a cultivator. Aqing thought that Jiang Li must have a significant background and considered him very powerful and somewhat handsome. Then, he covered his face with his hands. At this moment, the Toad Guard called out to him, saying that without his orders in the future, he is not allowed to contact Jiang Li. He expressed that for cultivators, secular laws, ethics, and morality are irrelevant to them, and loyalty, righteousness, and love are just passing clouds. They only have their Tao. Although they have a human-like appearance, they are actually a different kind of creature. Aqing smiled and said,
Master, he sounds scary. Are you implying that he might eat us?
Toad Guard told him not to joke around. He said not to mention eating people. As long as they conform to their Tao, people's soul spirit after death will also be rigidly refined and cannot be reincarnated forever. Frost Crane suddenly appeared. Jiang Li thought to himself that it was actually the star flame arts of the bright flame sect. He absorbed all the heat waves around him. Jiang Li said that the corpse general should be dealt with by it. Frost Crane then engages in battle with the corpse general. Zhao Huayin looked into the distance, thinking to himself that it was actually a Yogwai soul. Zhao Huayin told Jiang Li that this matter had nothing to do with him and expressed a desire to make a deal with him. Jiang Li playfully teased Zhao Huayin and asked him what trade he had in mind. His hand moved towards the vine. When he touched it, a purple light surged, and the vine instantly turned into smoke. Zhao Huayin said to Jiang Li that he was just doing business for money, indicating that he was willing to pay double the price. Then he thought for a moment and said he would pay 5 times the amount. Jiang Li asked,
What do you need him to do?
But then, he hugged Xiao Redrobe and realized that she had been poisoned by corpse venom. He thought to himself that this could be a bit troublesome. On the side, Zhao Huayin said that there was no need for him to do anything, just that he should not interfere. The next second, he widened his eyes. I saw Jiang Li instantly arrive under the tree. He said, Is this good news? He asked, What about the Wu tribe? Zhao Huayin said proudly. The Wu tribe Jianshi will be more valuable in his hands, indicating that they will settle the matter together before heading to the ancient tomb. He then sighed.
That is the ancient tomb of the Wu tribe.
He said that they could split the treasures inside the tomb between the two of them. And Jiang Li said that he misunderstood, and that Wu should not have been sealed with the soul-controlling talisman. Then its other side should have awakened. Long is the most mysterious creature in the world. No one has ever seen its true face. At this moment, Zhao Huayin turned around in shock and Jiang Li said he shouldn't seal it with the soul-controlling talisman. He mentioned that only the soul of a person is being sealed, so its other side should awaken. Just as the talisman began to slowly dissipate, Zhao Huayin looked extremely astonished. Wu then revealed those deep red pupils.
The demonized Tai Xian became increasingly violent, howling incessantly. It seems like something inside him has awakened. After the frenzy ended, he glared angrily at a Feng with terror in his eyes. At this moment, demonic chi scattered and disturbed Frost Crane. It kept flapping its wings, trying to disperse the flames. And the corpse general in the flames became increasingly strange. Like a phoenix reborn from the ashes, he stood in place. Tai Xian also completed his awakening. Now, he is like an ancient demon god. At this moment, a tremendous and awe-inspiring momentum spread through the heavens and earth. At this moment, Wu's ancient blood awakened. Zhao Huayin looked incredulously at him, amazed at what it was. Jiang Li said it was the divine descent of the great Wu. He then picked up the broken frost sword. He recited, "Xianxia weaponization," and saw a spiritual sword materialize instantly. He wielded the spiritual weapon. He thought to himself about this scene. He didn't know if he could handle it. He then slowly walked towards the great Wu divine descent. Upon noticing, countless sharp blades flew towards Jiang Li. He thought to himself, indeed not easy to deal with. Only to see the divine descent's body fluctuating between reality and illusion, able to materialize weapons out of thin air. Jiang Li fended off the attacks, sparks flying in all directions. He thought to himself, this seems different from what Master said about the Wu tribe divine descent. At this time, another butterfly flew over. He caught it just in time. He thought it was close. He was surprised that the original star flame had turned into another flame that could burn the soul spirit. Just at this moment, the awakened Tai Xian swung his sword, amidst the flashing lights and shadows of the blade. His straw hat was knocked off, and Jiang Li dodged to a distance. He felt sorry for the straw hat, when suddenly countless nether butterflies flew towards him. Jiang Li snorted coldly. He tightly gripped the sword and unleashed sword arts, only to see nether butterfly being cut off, falling slowly from all around. And at this moment, Wu's servant, empowered by the power of Wu and divine invocation, is guarding the great Wu divine descent. Jiang Li thought it wouldn't be a good idea to get too close. Then, he called Frost Crane over to help. While Frost Crane expressed fear of its nether flame, Jiang Li said of its frozen bloodline, enough to withstand his soul flame. Jiang Li also expressed that as long as it helps him in this battle, he will grant it freedom afterward. With a crane cry, Frost Crane flew towards Corpse General with a cry. Jiang Li thought that this increased the chances of winning. At this moment, Tai Xian leaped out from the sky and pounced towards him. A Feng then rushed out, indicating that he would deal with this one to let Jiang Li handle the bigger one. A Feng said Sister Xiao is in critical condition. Jiang Li looked back. He was surprised by the speed at which corpse venom was taking effect. He thought to himself that it seemed like he could only use that move. He chanted, "Xiao," and then his sword began to change gradually and transformed into a divine dragon. At this moment, thunder roared and lightning flashed, with fierce winds howling as if the heavens and earth could not contain this colossal divine dragon. Its giant mouth, like an abyss, lunged toward divine descent, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Cultivators may be the closest beings in this world to mortality. Xiao let out a roar following Jiang Li's instructions. It lurks around great Wu divine descent, and in an instant, it devours divine descent with a single bite. Divine descent's body gradually dissolves as Xiao moves. Xiao continues to tear and bite great Wu divine descent into energy, scattering it from its mouth. A Feng watches this scene from afar, looking surprised, and exclaims in astonishment, "This is actually a dragon!" Later, Xiao has fully digested divine descent. At this moment, its overwhelming momentum seems to engulf the world. A Feng stares at its deep eyes, his eyes filled with fear, and repeatedly mutters in disbelief. Later, he collapsed on the ground. At this moment, Jiang Li said that it would be fine for it to come out and play. Following that, he called Xiao back, but Xiao didn't want to listen to Jiang Li's words.
With a roar, it resounded throughout the world. Jiang Li sighed, feeling somewhat helpless. He raised his hand. He then unleashed the power of Taiji, intending to subdue Xianxia. While Xianxia continued to roar and struggle, at this moment, an energy flowed out from its mouth. Jiang Li thought,
"This seems more troublesome than last time."
And that Jiao Long was actually about to pounce on him. Jiang Li thought to himself,
"This is not good."
Light was flashing between his fingers. He then pointed to the sky, surrounded by celestial chi between heaven and earth, and awe-inspiring momentum descended upon the world. He followed with the incantation.
"It is the will of the Tao Sovereign, decreeing the spiritual ruins mountains Xianxia to return to its place."
Only to see Xianxia opening its big mouth. It has already arrived in front of Jiang Li. He said,
"Take your place."
In an instant, Xianxia swallowed Jiang Li, causing a huge disturbance. At this moment, Toad Guard said he had personally witnessed a cultivator before. And Aking found him talkative, so she asked if he had thought of a way to break the formation. Toad Guard said there is no way to break this formation. Aking was surprised. He said,
"Do we have to wait for that young man?"
He was afraid of having his soul extracted by the Toad Guard, who only said they couldn't break the formation. He expressed that there was a solution. Aking was stunned and then jumped up to cheer. The Toad Guard told him not to use that face to speak those words. Just then, he sensed something was amiss. Aking asked him what was wrong. Only saw the distant sky, the black clouds dispersed. Toad Guard told Aking to hurry up. The dark clouds gradually dispersed. At this time, Jiang Li, who was hit by Xianxia, produced a dark mist, leaving a Feng extremely surprised. He asked what kind of person Jiang Li really was. Could he be a cultivator? The black ink dispersed, and Jiang Li, supporting his body, looked somewhat exhausted. He simply said,
"Yes."
The sunlight gradually peeked out from the dark clouds. A Feng looked at Jiang Li in surprise. Weren't they already gone? Jiang Li flashed to Xiao Redrobe's side. A Feng held a knife and asked him what he wanted to do. At this moment, a chill swept over him from behind, only to see Frust Crane holding the sword handle slowly descending. Jiang Li temporarily suppresses the corpse venom in Xiao Redrobe's body. He said that her divine soul has been greatly consumed, indicating that she still needs to recuperate well. Jiang Li said that he had a request, and then looked to the side. He said that the weapon spirit Frust Crane in his sword had promised her freedom. She hoped that Xiao Redrobe would fulfill his wish, and then she agreed. A Feng paid attention to Sister Zhao's tone. A Feng is also overjoyed. He was so excited that he just wanted to hug her Xiao Redrobe and tell her that she was okay. Only to see that there was a figure. And that person is Tai Xian. At this moment, his demonic chi began to dissipate. Xiao Redrobe seemed lost in thought. Tai Xian gradually revealed his face. A Feng called out to his older brother, Xiao Redrobe, asking a Feng to help him over. At this moment, Jiang Li bowed his head and clasped his hands together. The person facing him was none other than the Immortal Master. They locked eyes for a moment. Then Jiang Li uttered,
"Flame!"
Just saw Immortal Master's body start burning. Then that figure dissipated in the fireworks. Jiang Li looked at Corpse General in the smoke, lost in thought. He turned his head to look in one direction, only to see Wu, who appeared particularly eye-catching under the sunlight. She was basking in the sunshine. She opened those charming eyes. Jiang Li looked at her. She also gazed at Jiang Li as if she had astonished the world. Jiang Li regretted that their era had passed. Wu's lips moved as if bidding farewell to him. Jiang Li felt sorry as she watched Wu beginning to dissipate. The wind blew, and the flower petals fell slowly. Endless happiness came through. A Feng is supporting Xiao Redrobe, indicating that everything is over. A Feng looked up at the sky in astonishment and said,
"Zhao Huayin!"
Where did he go? At this moment, the sky had returned to its daytime colors, with the sun shining on the earth. Only a figure could be seen moving rapidly through the jungle. This person is Zhao Huan, and he misjudged Jiang Li's actions. However, he thought that if he reported this matter, it would still be a significant achievement for him. At this moment, just then, a figure appeared in the distance. He approached and found that person. That turned out to be Toad Guard. He was surprised why he was referred to as Toad Guard, and Toad Guard said that was exactly what he wanted to ask him. He asked Tiger Emblem Guard about them. Zhao Huan was speechless for a moment, stammering. He thought to himself, "Luckily, he's just a Toad Guard," and then took out a poison needle. He said to take him to see the Tiger Emblem Guard. At that moment, his body couldn't move. He could only watch as his hand involuntarily dropped down and asked Toad Guard what he had done. And behind him, a venomous bee had already stung his body. His hand kept trembling. He wondered what was happening to him. Toad Guard snorted and said, "Daring to play poison in front of me?" Only to see the poison needle drop to the ground, emitting a puff of black smoke. At this moment, a figure appeared behind him. He patted his shoulder. Aking said that his master, who descended from a lineage of poison experts, would dare to show off just a little bit of corpse venom? Zhao Huan exclaimed in surprise. "It's actually him?" Aking looked proud and mentioned that he had indeed spent a couple of months with a group of smelly thieves in the wilderness just for him. Zhao Huan remembered his identity. He looked horrified. Oh no, she turned out to be the Snake Guard. Aking scratched his head and chuckled. Toad Guard said that he is from Ming Prefecture Corpse Sect. Disciple Shermingi from the lower court. Toad Guard suggests that since you have changed your name, why not stay hidden in the mountains and live in seclusion? Why do you have to step into the world and cause a commotion? He asked again, what are you searching for by excavating ancient tombs? Shermingi said he doesn't know. Toad Guard shouted out, Aking, when he saw the situation. Aking then asked him if he knew what was lying on his neck. Shermingi looked terrified. Aking said that this was a bee bred by the Toad Department, but this insect is not venomous. It's just stiff and unable to move. She took out another bamboo tube, indicating that this is the poisonous insect bred this year. Shermingi saw the situation. He then said that the person just gave him a map, asked him to find the tomb, and open it to see. He said he really didn't know what was inside, and then he asked her to quickly remove the venomous insects. Toad Guard asked him who ordered him. Shermingi hesitated and said he couldn't say. Toad Guard then called out for Aking. Shermingi shouted loudly. He said that person is one of them. The Prefecture Department of Orthodoxes. As soon as he finished speaking, he began to tremble, and in an instant, he was pierced through the head by a vine. I saw a vine sprouting from the red mole. Toad Guard was amazed. This is actually blood vine goo? He thought to himself, could it be him? Shortly after, Shermingi died from anger, and Aking wanted to take his face away. Toad Guard thought he was curious about the ancient corpse guarded by the Wu tribe. What exactly is it? At this moment, the petals are falling, and a red bead is gradually floating in the air. Jiang Li then picks it up. He finds out it's ancient blood. He then holds it in his hand. He looks at the bodies of the others beside him. He thought to himself that there are so many people to bury, it seems he will be busy. At this moment, a Feng tightly grips the roaring iron. Xiao Red Robe mourns a Feng by the side and asks Sister Xiao, does he have to be buried in this desolate mountain and wilderness, big brother? She looked at Tai Xian's tombstone and responded with a voice. Xiao Red Robe said that his brother Wei Dao had fallen, but his heroism will never die. She expressed that even after death, they must guard this place. Not to set up a grave, not to leave a name. She said that this is the tradition of Silly. She then looked to the side. A Feng also looked over. Xiao Red Robe asked him not to reveal Jiang Li's identity as a cultivator. Jiang Li was seen picking up the straw hat. He tidied up the fine strings inside and slowly put it on. Jiang Li asked Xiao Redrobe if he was done and said it was time to go back. Just settle his payment casually. Xiao Redrobe said that he could not repay the life-saving grace he received, but there was one thing she entrusted to him, the chapter of walking in dust. Finish. The Prefecture Department of Orthodoxy is a government department. The Dog Guard is the largest group within it. They are responsible for patrolling and guarding various places in the county. Family tie, 2 brothers. Their position in the Department of Orthodoxy is Dog Guard. They generally do not catch thieves. They only target those supernatural beings and monsters. If they accumulate enough military achievements, they can be promoted to Tiger Emblem Guard. Tiger Emblem Guard is the main fighting force of the Department of Orthodoxy, and each member is a strong individual capable of holding their own. Just like her cousin. And Toad Guard isn't a combat department. Most of them are talented individuals recruited from the martial world. They have a money-making gold toad responsible for making profits. There is a fire toad responsible for crafting weapons and armor, as well as a medicine toad responsible for refining medicine and treating injuries. In addition, there is a snake guard, but they are very mysterious. They usually disguise themselves as various people to gather intelligence, and only respond to summons when needed. The tasks they undertake mainly involve assassination. Xiao Redling said she doesn't want to be a snake guard anyway. Jiang Li asked her,
Then what about Qilin?
Xiao Redling asked if he was a Qilin guard. She then sighed.
He is the most powerful and impressive person.
The great Xian guarding the 12 states, they are perhaps the most prestigious and powerful people apart from the imperial family in the capital. And Qilin of Ya Prefecture is the most powerful among them. He independently killed a Yogui snake that was causing trouble in 3 prefectures. Just the head of that snake is as big as a horse. Jiang Li said that such a large ancient beast should be the Ba Viper, and he mentioned his master. She asked Jiang Li how many he had previously killed, and she asked him what his master's name is. Jiang Li said not to ask about his master's name. She snorted coldly. She said what's so great about it, and just had Jiang Li return the knife to him. At this moment, Xiao Redling was striding on the horse with a sword, walking slowly. At this moment, the atmosphere was a bit awkward. She secretly glanced at Jiang Li. She quickly changed the subject and asked him if he still needed the knife. Jiang Li said he didn't need it anymore, indicating that he had finished carving. Just then, there was a commotion in the distance. Xiao Redling turned to look back. Just saw a group of people riding horses with great momentum. They said there is a Yogui beast ahead. Jiang Li seems quite interested. Xiao Redling said to hurry up and follow to take a look. At this moment, there was a huge commotion coming from the jungle, with voices constantly being heard inside the forest. Jiang Li looked on as Xiao Redling and asked them what kind of Yogui beast they were trying to kill. Jiang Li was feeling the Yogui energy. Later, he said that the Yogui energy was too weak, and he didn't know either. Xiao Redling said,
Then let's take a closer look.
And at this moment, they were stopped by someone. I saw a big man saying that the Riverside Gang is busy inside, and it's not convenient to enter at the moment. Xiao Redling looked unhappy as she asked if all the woods belonged to the Riverside Gang. What's so great about that? I don't even know them. The man felt sorry, saying that when the time comes, the Riverside Gang will definitely show their gratitude, just at that moment. Only the sound from the woods is getting closer and closer. Everyone is resisting with all their might. The man was extremely astonished. Xiao Redling pointed ahead and said,
Such a big bird!
Only to see a Yogui beast in the shape of an eagle flapping its huge wings, the battle intensifying at this moment. It emits a piercing scream. In an instant, a gust of wind sweeps outwards from its side. The big man found the situation a bit tricky. He then pulled out his weapon and turned to them, saying,
As long as you don't make a move, I'll offer 20 taels of silver afterwards.
He then rushed towards the giant eagle. The battle became more intense at this moment. Rolling smoke. Xiao Redling was surprised why the Yogwai beast didn't know how to fly away. She just said that the bird is really stupid and then asked if Jiang Li is the same. However, Jiang Li has already disappeared without a trace. Xiao Redling wonders where he is gone. Just at that moment, a black shadow flew swiftly past her. The shadow instantly struck the abdomen of the Yogwai beast. The Yogwai beast spurted out a mouthful of blood. The big man angrily turned around to look. Only laughter could be heard coming from the front. I saw a person riding on a mount, which ironically was a black tiger, slowly walking out from the shadows. Beside him, his henchman remarked that his luck was good, as he had just killed a blue-eyed owl. The big man clasped his hands together in a fist to express his gratitude for the assistance, indicating that this Yogwai beast belonged to his riverside gang. Before the words fell, I only saw the person riding the black tiger, wearing the attire of the Department of Orthodoxy. He came aggressively with a fierce and evil look. He holds the authority of Qilin tightly. One person above all, 10,000 people below. But if he is not a good father, even on the day his child was born, he was still on duty. On that day, he hunted and killed an ocean-flipping AO beast on Hidden Jade Island in South Prefecture. He's not a good husband either. When mother passed away, he didn't stay by her side. In the North Commandery, a demonic creature emerged, and he led people to exterminate 72 of them. But the person in front of me is the son of a Qilin guard, the young master of the Prefecture Department of Orthodoxy. At this moment, his words were interrupted by a subordinate who said to him,
Now is not the time for love stories.
The top priority is to stabilize the situation and succeed as soon as possible. It is feared that delay may lead to changes. The person then coldly snorted in response. He has never coveted this position, and his subordinate said that matters have come to this point. Hanging by a thread, he can no longer afford to be indecisive. He let out a deep sigh. He walked slowly towards the window. He opened his eyes, those different colored pupils. He looked at the city in front of him, feeling deeply moved and turbulent in his heart. The place where he was located was the Demon Ceiling Tower, the headquarters of the Department of Orthodoxy in Yi Prefecture. At this moment, he asked about the progress of the funeral arrangements. His subordinates said that the tomb construction had been underway, with 3,000 laborers recruited from various places and nearing completion. The materials for the coffin and tomb had been found. The young master then inquired about the sacrificial offerings, to which the subordinates responded that about 80 to 90% had been gathered. The subordinate indicated that the prisoners detained over the years have all been gathered for use. For the remaining debts owed, arrangements have been made for each county to search and capture them. The young master said,
Her.
Has there been any news about her whereabouts? Subordinates said that they have made arrangements, but their words implied a threat. The subordinate reassured him that he can relax before the coronation ceremony. He is determined to recover the inheritance of the Qilin. The wind blows, white silk gently swaying. He said,
Look, the wind is picking up.
It seems that the situation in the world is about to change. At this moment, a burly man emerged from the shadows, with a mysterious horn tied around his upper body. The third, under his command, looked disdainful. He wore a smug smile on his face. Senior Brother Shen was surprised that they were from the Department of Orthodoxy. The third then spoke up, telling them to get lost. And they immediately paid their respects. The third looked ahead with his gaze. Junior Brother Su was blocking the way. He suppressed the anger in his heart. Did the third say he had donkey hair stuffed in his ears? He asked him if he heard anything at all. The horse also exhaled proudly. Gradually, the third became a little impatient. And Junior Brother Su said that they were the first to find this Yogwai bird. He insisted that the principle of first come, first served applied, even if they were helping to kill it. He sternly retorted,
Even the Department of Orthodoxy should abide by rules, shouldn't they?
The third snorted coldly. Senior brother Shin comforting junior brother Su. Tell him to step aside quickly, and not to be stubborn. The third casually placed his hand on senior brother Shin's shoulder and flung him aside. He leaned in to look at junior brother Su and asked,
"Are you teaching him a lesson?"
Senior brother Shin asked him to step back. He also asked him to quickly apologize to the Department of Orthodoxy. And at this moment, a flash of light appeared. I saw the third swing a knife towards senior brother Shin. Blood spattered everywhere. The third was arrogant and domineering, disdainful of others. Junior brother Su was shouting loudly. Senior brother Shin was spitting out blood from his mouth. He immediately went forward to check. The third said that the rules of the world are set by the Department of Orthodoxy, indicating that they are the rules. On the side, everyone hurriedly took out healing medicine. Junior brother Su is burning with anger. And at this moment, he was pulled back by senior brother Shin, who advised him not to act impulsively. He indicated that it was time to leave. Junior brother Su saw the situation and bowed his head in response. They left together, but at this moment, Leopard Lord asked them to wait and inquired if their leader's surname is Peng. Senior brother Shin then responded. Leopard Lord then said to let him go back and tell the one surnamed Peng that the Riverside Gang must disband immediately within 3 days. Otherwise, they will be punished for gathering to conspire. At the same time, surrounding him were also derisive laughs from his subordinates. Xiao Redling thought to himself that they were despicable. Jiang Li said this seems a bit different from what she mentioned about the Department of Orthodoxy. Xiao Redling expressed surprise at how he came back again. At this time, she found a blue egg in his hand. She then held it in her hands and asked Jiang Li,
"What kind of egg is this? Why is it so heavy?"
But Jiang Li was nowhere to be seen. Xiao Redling looked helpless. At this moment, Leopard Lord found that the Yogwai soul of the Yogwai beast was missing, wondering if it was taken by someone from the Riverside Gang. Subsequently, he ordered his subordinates to go and pursue. When they passed by Xiao Redling, the third noticed something. He saw Xiao Redling, the green egg she was holding. He then asked the horse to stop. He was a little excited to find out that it was a Yogwai beast egg. He immediately called Leopard Lord over, but Xiao Redling had a look of disdain on her face. Leopard Lord walked slowly over, and then he asked her who she was. She said,
"Azure Mountain City, family Xiao Redling."
Leopard Lord listened, looking thoughtful. Xiao Redling asked in return,
"Do you also want the family Xiao to disband?"
At this moment, the forest seemed somewhat quiet. The third gritted his teeth. He said it's just a family in a certain place. But the second said their ancestors were once part of the Qilin Guard. The third looked shocked. Leopard Lord said that those were all old stories from 100 years ago. Qilin's blessing had long been exhausted. He was just giving Xiao Red Robe face by allowing them to clean up the Yogwai beast's corpse before leaving. The wind rustled the leaves. Jiang Li said that their family is quite well known, right? Jiang Li said he just went to collect the money. He said that person promised not to act, right?
Jiang Li appears on a horse. Xiao Redling is surprised where he went just now. Jiang Li said he just went to ask for money. Did he give 20 taels of silver simply because the person promised not to take any action? And then he took out a silver ingot and said this was hers. Xiao Redling indignantly said that they were all so poor, and he still kicked someone who was down. She asked if Jiang Li still had any humanity. She couldn't understand why her sister spoke highly of him. She then rode her horse away. In Jiang Li's hands there was an egg. Thinking about human nature, he sighed and then smiled slightly. And in the distance, in the woods, senior brother Xuan and his group were greatly surprised. He had just suffered a serious injury, but miraculously, the wound healed. Everyone looked at the healed wound. Junior brother Su was surprised that this was actually celestial art. He then realized that the young man just now was actually an immortal master. The sunset falls, the moonlight shines on the earth. In the distance, a bonfire can be seen, with insects chirping around. Jiang Li said that there are important matters awaiting him on this journey down the mountain. He will focus on the crucial matters, while everything else will be just incidental. He expressed uncertainty about the future and mentioned that serving as his kept beast may not necessarily lead to good fortune. He only wishes for the child to be safe and happy. Along with that, he looked at Xiao Redling. He said she was the right candidate, then he closed his eyes, thinking not to worry about it. He will help her on his own, and the Yaoguai soul next to him is the former blue-eyed owl. Jiang Li asked if it had made up its mind. He then took hold of the sword hilt. He drew out the sword. There was a sudden sound of a sword blade cutting through the air. At this moment, inside an inn, the black tiger kept gnawing on the meat. Mysterious Jiao was drinking alcohol. The third felt a bit of a loss about the previous incident. He mentioned that it was a spiritual beast egg, and it was a blue-eyed owl. After incubation and raising, the kept beast could become a flying mount. He expressed that it was really a waste to give such a spiritual beast egg to family Zhao's little girl. The second said he knows what he's talking about. He said that thing is not easy to hatch. He mentioned that it's a Yaoguai beast that requires Yaoguai qi to hatch. He also mentioned that it's not worth offending family Xiao for this thing. Although they are not as influential as before, their foundation is strong. Besides, there is also the reputation of the Tiger Emblem Guard at stake. He sighed and said, "She is the #1 female Tiger Emblem Guard of the Department of Orthodoxy. Both in terms of skills and looks, she is exceptionally beautiful." And the third replied that he would like to see for himself, indicating that the Tiger Emblem Guards he has encountered are all rough and tough, with few able to show their faces in public. Leopard Lord immediately cursed at the third, who quickly explained himself. Leopard Lord said he would eventually die at the third's foul mouth. Then he mentioned that Xiao Redrobe was indeed impressive, regardless of her being a woman, as she deserved the title of Tiger Emblem Guard in terms of military achievements and skills. But he also said the #1 female Tiger Emblem Guard of Yi Prefecture. But there is another person named Swallowsnow. It's fine to say she is the #1 in the Tiger Emblem Guard among women. The second also mentioned that he had seen her in previous actions and confirmed that she is indeed formidable. The third asked, "How does she look?" Indicating that for a woman, appearance is important. Everything else is additional. The second said he had a temper. When someone confronted him face to face, his mouth could provoke a fight. Later, when they ran out of alcohol, they asked the waiter to bring more. The waiter carried the wine and felt bitter about how this group of troublemakers had arrived. At this moment there came a voice from behind asking, "Is there any food?" A child with simple clothes and a hat stood behind him. She said she was hungry and wanted to eat meat. The waiter whispered softly, "Those people are not easy to deal with. Let her leave." Before the words had even finished falling, the man, on the other hand, called for the child to come over and pour him some wine, promising to reward her with a few pieces of meat to eat. The waiter thought to himself, "This is bad." And she had a look of joy on her face, saying how great it was. The table was filled with a variety of dishes, featuring fatty fish and large pieces of meat. The third asked her to fill her glass with wine, and the child obediently followed suit. The third said that his hand was quite steady. Then he picked up a piece of meat and gave it to her as a reward. And she put down the wine jug. She said she would do it herself, then picked up a large piece of pork and started eating. The second person said that this child likes it. The third, a bit irritable, told her to finish eating quickly and then pour the wine. The second asked her what her name was, and she said her name was Cornus. The third asked her back, "Cornus?" The second burst into laughter and said, "It's a great name." He expressed that corn from tonight's dishes is very appropriate. The third said bullshit, indicating what a lousy name it is. The person who named her is probably an idiot. Right at this moment. Just then the bowl fell to the ground. Cornus covered the third's mouth with his hand while the third kept struggling. Cornus said, "You cannot mock this name." She stated that this is the name given to her by her favorite person, and those who insult her will die. With that, her heterochromatic eyes became deep and her gaze sharp. The third made no sound, seeming to beg for mercy. She was only seen with light shining on her fingertips. She expressed that she was doing it for the sake of the flesh. She sealed the third's mouth, only to see his mouth become smooth without a trace. He was extremely terrified. Then an inscribed curse appeared. He panicked and touched his mouth. The second called out to him in a hurry. Following that, he drew out his sword. And at this moment, the Leopard Lord suddenly slammed the table, interrupting the second's actions. At this moment, in extreme silence, the leopard lord asked her, "You just used the sealing technique, didn't you?" Cornus pondered for a moment, recalling a phrase her uncle had taught her a few days ago. Then she remembered and replied, "None of his damn business." The leopard lord flew into a rage and shouted at mysterious Jiao. The small snake appeared fierce and vicious, coiling towards Cornus. However, she quickly grabbed its vital point with one hand. She commented that it was just a common earthworm. How could it be called Jiao? She waved her small hand, then extracted the soul of mysterious Jiao from leopard lord, making him realize that the situation was not good. I saw that the soul of mysterious Jiao was drifting, and the next second, it was firmly held by Cornus. She was holding the body of mysterious Jiao in her right hand. She then threw it towards leopard lord. After leopard lord caught it, he was extremely sad and angrily asked her how dare she hurt his spiritual beast, questioning what kind of person she really was. Cornus suggested his hat. She said she is spiritual ruins mountain Cornus. With a giggle, she indicated that they were the ones who made the first move this time. Leopard Lord left the three of them feeling confused and a bit uneasy. In front of Jiang Li, there floated a spiritual sword emitting a chilling frosty aura. With that, the spiritual chi withdrew back into the sword at this moment. A voice came from the side. Soul seal forging. She said it brought back some bad memories. Jiang Li said she woke up. She said it was thanks to this magical tool of his. She said her spiritual soul has recovered quite a bit, and mentioned that his artifact forging technique seems to be off. The weapon spirit is only sealed, not fully restricted, so it can still change as desired. This spiritual weapon is capable of. She was surprised. Is he doing this on purpose? Then she smiled. She said, "The poor little girl is so pitiful. If she's not careful, she will be backlashed by this spiritual weapon." Jiang Li said, "Didn't he already return her freedom?" Frost Crane asked in surprise. "Freedom?" She said her body was destroyed and only a wisp of soul remained. She asked Jiang Li where she could go in this state. She said that what he promised at the time was a body of freedom. Jiang Li asked, "What do you think of her?" Frost Crane looked stunned and then glanced at Xiao Redling. Although she is a bit young, she can also make do. Jiang Li asked her what she was talking about. He said that he was talking about what the girl was holding. Frost Crane was extremely surprised. Xiao Redrobe was seen holding an azure egg in his hands. Frost Crane asked, "Does that mean she is supposed to turn into that egg?" Jiang Li said, "This egg. She can merge with it to help it hatch, which is exactly what she can do with her physical body." Frost Crane asked what benefits there are for her in doing this. She said that after spending 100 years enduring the trials of thunder and fire, she was finally able to attain this human form. Does she have to go back and become an egg again? Jiang Li said that this egg is the ancient beast Ho-E, bringer of the tempest, and it can still cast spells to preserve her frozen bloodline. With the help of this wind and frozen bloodline, she will surely bloom again after being reborn. Frost Crane interrupted his words. She expressed that this world, without stars or moon, where is the place for her to cultivate? Jiang Li remained silent. Frost Crane said she is tired. She expressed that she only wants to be reincarnated as a human, to witness the prosperity and beauty of the world for a lifetime, and experience the warmth and coldness of human relationships. Jiang Li said that if she is willing, he can impart a strand of the power of the White Luan to help her in her cultivation. Frost Crane looked stunned. She was surprised that he actually had the ancient blood of the Luan and Phoenix. She pondered if that was the case. Just at that moment, she smelled a strong scent of blood. She was surprised that there were still people out so late. Jiang Li asked her to consider it carefully. Frost Crane was just about to speak. She was taken into his treasure. He took the treasure and instantly shrank, only to be seen as a swallow flying in the air. There was a blurry figure deep in the jungle. She had blood stains all over her hands, as if she was injured. She kept coughing, gasping for air. And this woman is precisely the First Lady of the Tiger Emblem Guard of the Orthodoxy Department in Ya Prefecture, Swallow Snow. At this moment, she noticed something unusual. She saw Jiang Li gazing at her from the treetops in the distance. Swallow Snow is curious about who it is. I only saw Jiang Li's pair of heterochromatic eyes seemingly seeing through the world. She looked around and still no movement. She thought to herself, could it be that my eyes are playing tricks on me? And at this moment, just then, a figure slowly emerged from the shadows. Swallow Snow said they are really persistent like ghosts, so many of them have died. They actually dare to chase after us? Snake Guard followed by paying respect to Swallow Snow and said, when did these little snakes become so brave? Snake Guard said that there are orders on the peak, and they had no choice but to come. They only wanted her to hand over the stolen items and let them go back to report. They immediately retreated and did not dare to entangle with the Lady Swallowsnow. With a cold snort in response, she asked if he knew what that thing was. She immediately said, "No more nonsense, get to work." She said to bring the body back. "You can both fulfill your duties." Snake Guard fell silent briefly before launching an attack. He threw a hidden weapon which was blocked by Swallowsnow. She coldly snorted, only to see the hidden weapons coming continuously. Then the hidden weapons dropped to the ground. She said there was no need to probe anymore. She indicated that she was indeed injured. But if you want to rely on this, do not underestimate the Tiger Emblem Guard. She just asked him to call out the others. Snake Guard waved his hand and several people appeared behind him, approaching aggressively, showing their strength as the #1 female in the world. Tiger Emblem Guard speaks arrogantly, and a few others immediately get into fighting stances. She indicated that they should teach them a lesson. Swallowsnow looked disdainful, her eyes turning sharp. Just then, Snake Guard slowly approached her, when suddenly a voice spoke from the side. "The woman with exquisite beauty is Tiger Emblem Guard, the #1 female of your prefecture, because she took away the sacrificial items." She was chased and hunted down by the Snake Guard sent out by the upper peak. At this moment, Xiao Redling asked the Snake Guard to let her go, holding onto the sword hilt with restrained energy, creating a tense atmosphere. Shadow Sea from the Department of Orthodoxy warned her not to meddle, but Xiao Redling angrily retorted that they, bullying an injured girl with so many people, were hardly fitting of calling themselves the Department of Orthodoxy. The Snake Guard leader acknowledged the situation and instructed Shadow Sea to deal with the girl. Shadow Sea coldly snorted and said that she was quite bold, indicating that she really didn't know her place. "In that case, let's see if she can handle a game with Xiao Redling." With a cold snort, Shadow Sea drew her sword. She waved towards Shadow Sea, but Shadow Sea disagreed, saying that she still has a temper, just like when sword blades clash. Between the flashing blades, Shadow Sea's weapon surprisingly broke. He found it inconceivable, and this scene also left Xiao Redling amazed. Shadow Sea seized the moment when she was distracted, immediately grabbing her hand. He snatched Frost Crane from Xiao Redling's hand and kicked her away. Xiao Redling suffered internal injuries, coughing up a mouthful of blood. She was then assisted by Jiang Li. Shadow Sea was surprised. Is this sword a spiritual weapon? Just as he was overjoyed, the next second, a frosty chill emanated from the blade. The chill instantly surrounded his body, the air seemed to carry sharp blades, and he let out a series of screams, with his mask cracking as a result. Then the frost slowly dissipated. The leader of the Snake Guard heard the commotion and was surprised, wondering what had happened. At that moment, he sensed something amiss, swiftly dodged aside, and even used a secret method to emerge from his clothing. Watching the scene in front of him attentively, he saw Swallowsnow wielding hidden weapons. She coldly snorted, remarking on his quick reaction. The leader was surprised that she was unharmed and remarked that he never expected the prestigious Tiger Emblem Guard to engage in such sneak attacks. Before he could finish his sentence, he noticed a sword mark on his neck. Swallowsnow said that this group of people came to chase and kill a weak woman like her. Was she not allowed to use some tricks? And the next second, the Snake Guard surrounding her had their corpses separated. The leader was surprised that it was actually Sword Chi. He thought no wonder both the Teeth Group and the Flower Group couldn't capture Swallowsnow. He touched her hair gently. She expressed that if she didn't, how could others claim to be the #1 female in the Tiger Emblem Guard? The leader expressed that he had learned a lot, and at this point, his hand started to emit a red light. He then disappeared using sorcery, turning into a beam of light floating towards the depths of the jungle. Swallowsnow coldly snorted. It's actually the divine movement technique. Shadow Sea saw the leader leaving. Just as he was about to speak, a sharp blade pierced through his skull. His voice abruptly stopped, and he slowly fell to the ground. Swallowsnow coldly snorted. Xiao Redling widened her eyes in utter astonishment. At this moment, Swallowsnow's face darkened. She thanked them for drawing their swords to help and promised to repay their kindness in the future. She asked if she could now clear the way and leave on her own. Jiang Li said they were just passing by. He said he meant no harm and there was no need to force oneself. Swallowsnow felt incredulous after hearing that. Soon after, a trail of blood splattered in the air. Department of Orthodoxy is the most powerful organization in the world. And the offerings they prepare. The beautiful woman in front of her took away the sacrificial offerings. At this moment, Swallowsnow was already injured internally. She was surprised that Jiang Li saw through her. Then she spurted out a cloud of blood and fainted on the ground. Xiao Redling helped Swallowsnow to the side and said to Jiang Li, "Spiritual Ruins Mountain doesn't seem to be a reputable sect." She asked him, "Did your master not teach you that the most important thing in wandering the martial arts world?" Jiang Li said no, indicating that the master only warned them after they descended the mountain. They should listen more, observe more, think more, and try not to kill. Also, they should avoid getting too involved in worldly cause and effect. Xiao Redling, looking angry, said after hearing that the most important thing when traveling the rivers and lakes is to act with chivalry, helping the weak and standing against the strong. Jiang Li seemed lost in thought. He said he had a question. He asked if the weak one Xiao Redling was referring to was her. Or was it the snake guard who had died on the side? He expressed that actually the weakest one present should be herself. Xiao Redling was stunned upon hearing this, and her little face also turned red. The moonlight became hazy, shining through the treetops and falling onto the ground. At this moment, Xiao Redling noticed that Swallowsnow had woken up, so she showed concern for her physical condition. Xiao Redling then discovered a Qilin seal on Swallowsnow's cuff, which she found quite beautiful. This Qilin seal appeared robust and vigorous, with a green glaze tinged with red, vivid and lifelike. On the side, Jiang Li, however, does not think so. Xiao Redling just wants to take a look at it. And the next second, just as she was about to touch it, the Qilin seal emitted a dazzling golden light. Jiang Li pushed Xiao Redling aside with one swift motion. Xiao Redling, puzzled and angry, looked at Jiang Li. Later, Jiang Li stood in front of her, only to see the air currents continuously surging. A shocking murderous intent swept over. The scene before her took her by surprise, only to see that it was a yaoguai beast with numerous horns, towering physique, and strange shape. The cyclone continuously spread outwards from its surroundings, and the huge pressure made it hard to breathe. Xiao Redling was amazed at what this thing was. It could only see its tentacles dancing in the air continuously, the dim light making its appearance elusive. The deep eyes were hidden within. Jiang Li warned Xiao Redling not to look at it, or else her mind would be affected. He then slowly raised his hand. He asked Xiao Redling to close her eyes, leaving her confused. Jiang Li then proceeded to use sorcery, only to see the yaoguai beast being covered by the light, Xiao Redling enduring the beam of light. Shortly after, that yaoguai beast dissipated, only leaving behind the blurry figure of Swallowsnow. Xiao Redling felt incredulous. She asked Jiang Li what that yaoguai beast was just now. Jiang Li, with a bloody face, said it was not a yaoguai beast but a shadow called Xiao Redling. Redling was completely confused. What did she say the shadow is? Why is it so terrifying? After hearing this, Jiang Li's gaze became profound, showing those silver pupils, indicating that it is a Qilin. At this moment, Swallowsnow is surrounded by swirling smoke, and her bun has turned deep red. Her breath comes out as white smoke. At this moment, she has not regained consciousness, as if immersed in a certain state, and the Qilin mentioned by Jiang Li is the one she has evolved into. The cruelty and ruthlessness in this world are just a thought away. The human heart is inscrutable, and the ways of the world are harsh and fickle. What we see is only the surface, but we do not know the truth behind it. At this moment, Swallowsnow is immersed in her own world. I don't know what happened outside. Here it's dim and lifeless with constant echoes of her name in the air. Swallowsnow was extremely surprised and asked who was calling her. And the man's voice was getting closer. Swallowsnow looked up, only to see the head of the headless Qilin sitting on it looking already withered and can't seek death. He was the former Qilin, and yet he was the godfather of Swallowsnow. After Swallowsnow noticed, she embraced him. She constantly complained to him, saying that after he left, no one was there to protect her anymore. Even her younger brother wanted to kill her. She said she really didn't know what to do. He slowly said, "Power." Then the man took out the jade seal, and the jade seal seemed to be tainted by demonic qi, turning a dark red Swallowsnow color. Seeing this, he immediately told her not to become a Qilin guard. She said she didn't want Snow to die. Before the words fell, her adoptive father's hands lost their flesh and turned into a skeleton-like appearance. Behind him it seemed like a surge of demonic qi was constantly emerging, and the blood light illuminated the space. At this moment, Swallowsnow regretted agreeing to his request to become a Qilin guard. And her adoptive father murmured, "Responsibility." The imperial seal also emitted a blood light, with a tremendous momentum, as if it was about to surge out from within. Swallowsnow fell silent for a moment, then responded accordingly. At this time, her adoptive father asked her to sign a contract. A bloody smell emanated from the jade seal, while demonic qi continued to surge forth. At the same time, chains emerged from within it, exuding powerful auras. Among these auras there were countless murderous intentions, causing people to feel terrified. Just as the chains were about to lock Swallow Snow in place, they were unexpectedly shattered by a powerful force. Jiang Li then slowly appeared, firmly grasping Swallow Snow's hand. Swallow Snow was also surprised by Jiang Li's arrival. Jiang Li, with deep and profound eyes, gazed at the Qilin guard before him. The Qilin guard had empty eyes, and the surrounding demonic qi kept devouring outward. In an instant, this place seemed like two worlds alternating between yin and yang. The Qilin guard chanted once again, "Contract." The dark fog instantly dispersed into countless chains, with powerful forces continuously gathering within, transforming into demonic claws. A terrifying murderous aura swept over Jiang Li, covering his whole body. In this critical moment, Jiang Li used sorcery to dodge and took Swallow Snow with him to a safer place. Swallow Snow asked in surprise why things turned out this way and then asked Jiang Li what those things were. Jiang Li slowly said, "This is your inner fear." And the endless desire slowly, Qilin's head reappeared in front of his eyes. The sound of the chain clanking echoed through the heavens and the earth. And then the scales of the Qilin appeared. And the huge body entwined by these chains is Qilin. At the moment, the air keeps emitting a whistling sound, as if the demonic qi in the air wants to devour everything. To all the viewers, take a break and continue watching. Behind every glamorous appearance, there is an unknown sorrow. At this moment, Jiang Li's fingertips are placed on Swallow Snow's forehead. Swallow Snow's scattered hair dances in the wind as the two of them remain in a state of meditation. Xiao Redling looked at this scene, feeling a bit bored for a moment, wondering what they were up to. At this moment, Jiang Li's eyes caught her attention, with his handsome and refined appearance. She couldn't take her eyes off him. His long eyelashes seemed to flutter lightly with his breath, like butterfly wings. Xiao Redling thought to herself, "He looks quite handsome." And at this moment, Jiang Li in the dream had a serious expression. He gazed ahead at the Qilin guard that looked like a withered manuscript. He sighed that although it was just a lingering image in the dream, the scene was still too spectacular, carrying a sense of melancholy. The space was filled with the echoing sound of the Qilin guard. Regret for the ancient divine spirits that were once auspicious, but now contaminated by demonic qi and fallen into such a plight. At this moment, Swallow Snow appeared as a young girl and asked, "Is this the Qilin?" Jiang Li remained silent for a moment and then said, "This is just a virtual image formed through the dream." Upon hearing this, Swallow Snow appeared surprised and began muttering to herself in disbelief. She thought that Jiang Li was also a figure she had imagined, but she received a denial from Jiang Li. Swallow Snow thought for a moment. If she said he is not an illusion, then these scenes are not all illusions. Because her adoptive father said so before he passed away. He left the most important things to her. That is the legacy of Qilin. Swallow Snow then took out the jade seal. She asked Jiang Li if he knew what this was. At the moment when the jade seal appeared, Jiang Li's pupils instantly turned silver, followed by a confident answer. Swallow Snow exclaimed, "The power within this is not something ordinary people can control. But if one could control this power, she would no longer be an ordinary person." As soon as the words fell, the jade seal instantly shattered into 4 pieces, and a mist of blood spread outward. An awe-inspiring momentum continued to spread. Swallow Snow came to her senses and asked Jiang Li with profound meaning if he would help her. Jiang Li, however, remained silent. He lowered his head, pondering something, then turned to look ahead and said, "Even in death the soul cannot find release, only forever becoming his sustenance, forever imprisoned, entangled together." He then asked Swallow Snow, "After knowing all this, do you still want to try to control these powers?" Swallow Snow, however, tightly held the jade seal. She said quietly, "This is her responsibility. It is also her glory." In an instant, Swallow Snow reverted to her original appearance, looking youthful. Within the jade seal tightly held in her hand, an endless chain emanated, spreading a bloody scent that continued to diffuse. The power within filled people's hearts with fear. At this moment, Xiao Redling looked at the sword at her side, seemingly lost in thought. The sword blade faintly radiates spiritual qi, and she feels that it seems different from before. She then sheathed the sword back into its scabbard. She sighed. She looked at Jiang Li in front of her, puzzled. Did he make a move? She thought to herself, could this guy really be the sect leader of Spiritual Ruins Mountain? Or is he lying? He is about the same age as her. Gradually, her face also started to blush. At that moment, Jiang Li suddenly opened his eyes, feeling a hint of surprise. Shortly after, He spit out a mist of blood, splattering it in the air. Xiao Redling was shocked to see this scene. She hurried forward to ask Jiang Li what had happened. Jiang Li replied that he was fine, but Xiao Redling still looked worried. And at this moment, Swallow Snow casually held a small knife in her hand. At the moment she opened her eyes, she suddenly lunged towards Jiang Li. She was met with a sword blade drawn out by Xiao Redling to block. A sword cry resounded through the heavens and earth. Xiao Redling angrily rebuked Swallow Snow, asking her what she wanted to do. The Qilin Guard has a unique responsibility and honor. They choose to offer themselves as sacrifices, burning through their lives to guard a peaceful place. Even facing eternal torment after death, they do not hesitate. Just now a sword sound broke the silence. Xiao Redling stopped Swallow Snow and asked her what she wanted to do. Jiang Li suffered internal injuries from Swallow Snow's dream and kept coughing. Fresh blood slowly flowed from his fingertips. Swallow Snow looked at the two people in front of her in astonishment. When she came to her senses, she felt sorry for her rash actions just now. She then put down the short blade in her hand, explaining that she had just woken up and was confused, mistaking them for the villains who were chasing her. Xiao Redling snorted coldly and said that they had indeed helped her just now. Swallow Snow also apologized repeatedly after listening. Then she asked Xiao Redling, "Sister, you are from Azure Mountain Prefecture family Xiao, right?" Xiao Redling wondered how Swallow Snow knew. Swallow Snow said she guessed. She said she looks very similar to Red Robe. Xiao Redling looked surprised after hearing this. She asked how she knew the name of her elder cousin, then she also mentioned her own name. Swallow Snow touched her head and murmured, "It's a really good name." She asked why she had come to this place. Was it to join boss for this year's Department of Orthodoxy martial examination? Then she received Xiao Redling's affirmative answer. Swallow Snow said that she is quite ambitious at such a young age, and encouraged her to work hard in the future. She will definitely become a Tiger Emblem guard like her cousin. She then looked at Jiang Li with confusion and asked, "I don't know what kind of person is the young hero. How should I address you?" Xiao Redling turned to look at Jiang Li. She said he accompanied her to boss's place, indicating that Swallow Snow should not underestimate him, as he is the sect leader of the Spiritual Ruins Mountain. Before she finished speaking, she was interrupted by Jiang Li. And not far away there was a pair of eyes watching them. When noticed by Jiang Li, he said, "Someone is coming." After Swallow Snow noticed, she asked them to come out. A vague figure wearing Department of Orthodoxy attire with a red mask on their face was seen on a tree not far away. With a fierce gaze, the figure jumped down from the treetop upon being noticed. As they landed, another figure emerged slowly from the darkness. Xiao Redling wondered who they were and noticed slight differences in their attire, indicating they belonged to different departments. As they all emerged from the mist, Xiao Redling recalled who they were and quickly drew their sword in preparation for battle. But the next moment, she was intercepted by Swallow Snow. When Toad Guard saw the emerald jade seal, his eyes were filled with astonishment. He then saluted Snake Guard. Although Swallow Snow found his actions strange, she followed suit. Xiao Redling, on the other hand, was puzzled by the scene. Swallow Snow reassured her not to worry, indicating that they were all on the same side. At that moment, a golden light at the edge of the sky illuminated the earth. Turbulence and helplessness in the world. It's all because human greed knows no bounds. Just now, two people walked out from the depths of the jungle. They are subordinates of Swallow Snow. After a brief exchange, Swallow Snow asked his subordinates to bring paper. One of his subordinates immediately took out paper from his chest when he saw this. Swallow Snow chanted the incantation, and another subordinate drew the blade and flashed it across their palm, causing a slow trickle of blood. The two of them knelt down, holding it up, waiting for Swallow Snow's orders. The air was filled with mist, giving off a hint of eeriness. Swallow Snow then dipped his hand in the blood and used it as ink, writing with a flourish. After writing down a few large characters, she waved her sleeve again. The Qilin seal, after a brief shake, instantly enlarged. Immediately, it was held in Swallow Snow's hand. She pressed it down onto the paper. And this paper is the Demon Exorcising Token, which is the symbol of the Yi Prefecture Department of Orthodoxy. The words written by Swallow Snow are granting permission for this person to enter the department. When Xiao Redling saw it, she was greatly surprised. Swallow Snow expressed her gratitude for saving her life, and said there was no way to repay the favor. She mentioned that they could bring the item to the boss, who would find it useful. Later they exchanged a few parting words. Jiang Li, Xiao Redling, and Swallow Snow bid farewell as they rode off on horses. The rest of the group watched Jiang Li's figure disappear into the distance, lost in thought. Gradually, the figures of Jiang Li and the two of them vanished from sight. At this moment, Swallow Snow asked with profound meaning. If you were to eliminate that young man, do you have confidence? The woman with short hair was stunned after hearing it, and in this brief moment, she was sensed by Swallow Snow. A murderous aura rose from her face and she immediately asked back, "Do you know him?" The woman with short hair remained silent and immediately knelt down on the ground. The old man beside him immediately said, "It's just a passing acquaintance, not a real connection. It won't affect the task at hand." Swallow Snow thought to himself, "Since we've met, then let it be." The old man remained silent for a moment before saying, "Actually, if we want to kill this young man, I'm afraid the two of us won't be able to do it, even if he is injured now. Besides, he owes a favor to family Xiao." Swallow Snow was extremely surprised to hear this and asked the old man to continue talking. The old man responded by cupping his fist in salute. He recounted what had happened at Startled Bird Mountain before. Jiang Li had stated to find slightly astonished that cultivator Swallow Snow, from Spiritual Ruins Mountain, had entered the secular world after more than 20 years. Swallow Snow sighed, indicating that chaos might be imminent, and then turned to the old man saying, "Uncle Hu, I have a favor to ask." The elder did not dare to be negligent and instructed Swallow Snow to convey that he had founded Snake Guard 25 years ago. At that time, Snake Guard was feared by all, with each member handpicked by him. They were all considered outstanding talents. However, they had now fallen to such a state, wandering around like prisoners among the Department of Orthodoxy. Swallow Snow expressed concern about the current turmoil, requesting Uncle Hu to reclaim leadership of Snake Guard and restore its former glory. She implored him not to decline based on their past relationship. The elder remained silent upon hearing this side, and acknowledged that Brother Swallow had once saved his life, so it would not be proper to refuse. Swallow Snow then mentioned that he was now part of the Toad Guard. Before she could finish speaking, she was interrupted by the elder. He sighed and said that he had long ago shifted to the Toad department but had not been handling affairs for these years. Moreover, he was advanced in age and lacked the energy to deal with matters. The old man in front of them is the Hu Toad Guard who previously appeared at Startled Bird Mountain. Swallow Snow asked, "Are you rejecting me?" Hu Toad Guard fell silent for a moment and said he was already old, already discarded by this era. He expressed that the future belongs to the younger generation. He turned his head and looked at the short-haired woman next to him. He said that she is his closed-door disciple, and has received his true transmission of Swallow Snow. After listening, she was stunned and then asked, "What is your name?" The short-haired woman replied, "I am nameless. Master gave me the name Bamboo Pit." Swallow Snow murmured to herself after listening, and then she instructed Bamboo Pit to rise. Bamboo Pit responded by clasping his hands together in a fist. Later, Swallow Snow asked her, "Are you willing to take over as the master of Snake Guard in his place?" She then received her affirmative answer. Swallow Snow stated before this that she asked her to go to the Prefecture Department of Orthodoxy to handle a matter. From this moment on, the situation in the world seems destined to become turbulent. Do you still remember that child with heterochromia? Beneath the appearance of a child, there lies a powerful force that does not match. At this moment, inside the tavern, Cornus took down Leopard Lord and the other two. She said, "You guys can take quite a beating." Leopard Lord looked disgruntled and asked, "Do you even know who we are?" Cornus, however, scoffed, "I don't care who you are. You were the ones who started picking on me first." Leopard Lord snorted coldly, "We are from the Department of Orthodoxy, the protectors of the great Xian who reigns over the 12 states. If you want the boss to know, just wait for the destruction of your sect's gate. Even though the world is vast, there will be no place for you to hide." Listening to Leopard Lord's words, Cornus was dismissive. She asked disdainfully, "Does your boss have a lot of people who can fight?" Leopard Lord roared angrily, "Are you scared? Get off me quickly." Cornus took a bite of the chicken leg and coldly harumphed, "Scared." She then took the leftover bone. She smashed the second's head with it. She expressed that she wasn't hitting too hard, and told him not to pretend to be dead. The second got up and rubbed his head, smiling awkwardly. Later, Cornus asked the second to go to the Department of Orthodoxy and find the most powerful person for her. The second was completely confused and puzzled, wondering what she needed the most powerful person for. Cornus stated that he needs 3 days. If 1 day is delayed, Leopard Lord will have 1 leg roasted and fed to the tiger. And this tiger is the black tiger that serves as Leopard Lord's mount. Leopard Lord shuddered upon hearing this, while the black tiger beside him remained calm, with a vigilant look towards Cornus. Cornus waved his hand, She told it not to be afraid, assuring that she won't hurt it. Later, Black Tiger actually pounced into Cornus' arms like a little kitten, acting cute. The second was speechless at the sight. Cornus stared at him, and his heterochromatic eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. This indicated that he should quickly go and listen to the second. In response, he promptly complied. At this moment, Jiang Li and the two of them were coming towards the Department of Orthodoxy on the horizon. Xiao Redling exclaimed excitedly, "Look, the bird is hatching!" The cold wind was biting, whistling through the depths of the valley. The atmosphere around seemed somewhat eerie. This is the location of the Demon Suppression Prison, under the jurisdiction of the Department of Orthodoxy in Yi Prefecture. Above irregularly, a dragon head is perched on the wall, shimmering brightly in the sunlight. At this moment, one person exerted force and slammed the goblet in their hand onto the table, only to see him solemn and sharp-eyed, the attire he is wearing showcasing his extraordinary status. He is none other than Xiong Tiger Emblem Guard, who holds the position as the guardian in Yi Prefecture's Eastern Commandery. At this moment, Xiong Li angrily rebuked, "Do you want me to hand over my military power?" The other party's voice slowly came, "Xiong Commandery Governor, your words are too harsh. You have toiled your whole life guarding Eastern Commandery, which is a cold and harsh borderland. The young master is kind-hearted and cannot bear to see you toiling in the military camp at your age. We have prepared a large mansion for you in the city, as well as servants and attendants. Please come and enjoy your retirement in comfort." Xiong Li sneered disdainfully upon hearing this and coldly retorted, "When did it become the turn of a little snake like you to meddle in military affairs?" After Hu Nangui left, Xiong Li muttered to himself, "These little snakes are becoming more and more unruly." Chong Fairyvine said that the reprimand was in the past, but now the young master has inherited the leadership of the Qilin Guard, governing Yi Prefecture on behalf of the emperor. She asked Xiong Tiger Emblem Guard why he is reluctant to relinquish his military power, wondering if he harbors rebellious intentions by holding on to the troops. Xiong Tiger Emblem Guard burst into laughter upon hearing this. Rebellion? He kicked over the table with a single kick and stood up roaring. "Since when did Yi Prefecture Qilin become hereditary? I have guarded Eastern Commandery for over 30 years. Before your father became the Qilin, Eastern Commandery was under my control." Xiong Li. "Oh, you want control of my military power? Wait until you inherit the legacy of the Qilin. Become a true Qilin first before we talk." Before the words fell, the attendants around put on snake masks and drew their swords. A sudden murderous intent arose. Xiong Li's gaze was sharp as lightning, staring coldly at Chong Fairyvine, incredulously asking, "Do you dare to stop me?" Chong Fairyvine's eyes concealed a killing intent as he coldly said, "Having no master, the sin must be punished." Xiong Li witnessed the situation. He couldn't help but burst into laughter. "You should know that it has been more than 10 years since the world has been stable. Dare to show a blade in front of him." A shocking momentum roared over. Accompanied by a thunderous roar, a fierce tiger loomed behind him. He shot a majestic gaze from his eyes. He snorted coldly. "A few snakes that can't see the light also dare to block the tiger's path? With your tiny venomous fangs, can you really harm the tiger of Mount Zhan in the Eastern Commandery?" He said he has never liked killing women in his life. He told those ants to retreat quickly. After he finished speaking, a murderous aura rose up all at once, and a powerful pressure enveloped the entire space. The pressure felt as if it were a towering mountain, making it hard for everyone to catch their breath. At this moment, Chong Fairyvine slowly spoke. "Xiong Li, who has been renowned for decades, of course we dare not underestimate you. However, your habit of drinking too much alcohol seems to have persisted all these years." At these words, Xiong Li immediately sensed something was amiss. Chong Fairyvine mentioned that what makes venomous snakes dangerous and deadly is not their fangs. Right after that, Xiong Li felt a sharp pain in his chest. Then he spat out a large black mist of blood. He looked at Chong Fairyvine incredulously, surprised that he dared to poison him, unable to help but burst out cursing loudly. Chong Fairyvine smashed the goblet down. He coldly snorted and said, "Take him down for me." He once guarded the Eastern Commandery against the invasion of demonic creatures. As a Tiger Emblem Guard, he wielded his strong power to awe the region. But now he is burdened with a deadly poison. Chong Fairyvine said that Snake Guard was different from Tiger Emblem Guard in its early days, and they dealt with demonic creatures, Yaogui beasts, these outcasts. He expressed that they only need to deal with people who are extraordinary like Xiong from Tiger Emblem Guard, those who can rival the outcasts beyond the ordinary. At this moment, Xiong from Tiger Emblem Guard has been completely infected by a potent toxin. Despite enduring for a long time, He is utterly useless. Fresh blood keeps flowing from his body. The snake guards nearby are watching closely, ready to launch a group attack. When Chang Fairyvine was about to order his death, he heard the young master's voice behind him saying to wait a moment and bring him down to be locked up. Tiger Emblem guard Chang Fairyvine remained silent as he watched Bear being taken away. Then they started to talk. The young master mentioned that the summoning order had been issued for over half a month, but the number of Tiger Emblem guards who responded was far fewer than expected. The young master sighed, expressing that even those who were willing to come might not truly be loyal to him. Their characters were not as straightforward as Xiang Li's. He said at least the department guards were still loyal to them. He mentioned that as soon as the funeral and the coronation ceremony were over, those fence-sitters would naturally come to pledge their loyalty and submit to him. The young master asked meaningfully, "Has Swallowsnow been found?" However, Chang Fairyvine remained silent after hearing this. The young master gazed at the distant sky, a sense of unease brewing in his heart. The cold wind howled past, with a chilling and eerie atmosphere permeating all around. At this moment, Xiao Redling pointed ahead and said, "Look, that is the Prefecture Department of Orthodoxy." Xiao Redling thought to herself that she had finally arrived. She was about to take a good rest when, in her arms there came a cooing sound. She looked indulgently at the spiritual beast in her arms. The spiritual beast in question is actually the azure egg from before. Xiao Redling noticed that it was going to rain and said that we should hurry up and enter the city. Jiang Li at this moment, due to the previous incident, has not fully recovered his vitality and coughed a few times. Xiao Redling asked him how he is feeling. Jiang Li smiled slightly, indicating that he is fine, and asked Xiao Redling not to worry. At this moment, inside a cave, silence surrounded the area. Only sporadic sounds of dripping water could be heard. A person curled up on the ground, unable to get up. At this moment words came from the side. "You, is this how you came back?" After hearing this, he broke out in a cold sweat and his body trembled uncontrollably. He stuttered and trembled as he said, "Mr. Chong, spare me, please." The words had barely left his mouth, only to see a giant python coiled around the surroundings, continuously emitting a hissing sound. Looking up along the python's body, a vague figure was sitting within it, and this person was Chang Fairyvine. At this moment he calmly said, "Why should I kill you? I never expected you all could kill Swallowsnow." Then he asked, "Did anyone else witness this?" Suddenly his gaze turned sharp, exuding a sense of killing intent. Since the young master began preparing for the sacrifice, he has ordered his subordinates to capture all kinds of yaoguai in the world. At this moment, the city is bustling with noise and excitement. A carriage is slowly moving forward, carrying a large cage. The guards are maintaining order around it. In the cage there is a huge yaoguai wolf with its front legs securely bound by iron chains. Sounds of sorrow can be heard coming from the creature as it faces the crowd. People are discussing animatedly, all staring intently at it. Someone exclaimed, "This is already the 7th yaoguai beast caught this month." Meanwhile, inside a tavern in the city, Gugu had a serious expression and disdainfully disregarded the food handed to her by Xiao Redling. Xiao Redling looked distressed and wondered why Gugu didn't eat anything. She asked Jiang Li what the reason was. And Jiang Li, with his mouth stuffed full of meat, hesitantly said, "Maybe it's not hungry yet." However, Gugu became interested in the food in Jiang Li's mouth. It actually snatched the meat from his hand. At that moment a quarrel broke out nearby. The waiter is welcoming the guests entering the door. The two who entered the door were dressed in the robes of the Department of Orthodoxy, with one person's head wrapped in gauze, evidently injured during the capture of the yaoguai beast. Chang Cheng's demeanor is arrogant, urging the waiter to quickly serve good wine and dishes. Then he smashed the weapon in his hand onto the table. He said that this job is really inhumane, where the people above just move their mouths and the people below have to work hard. He was puzzled why they had to catch those yaoguai as sacrifices. At this time the guard captain Wei Tao said, "Quiet, no talking. Have you forgotten the rules when you came out? This is not the wilderness." Chang Chong immediately became alert and looked around. Afterwards the waiter served the food and drinks. The two of them immediately started drinking heavily. Chang Chong finished the drink in one gulp. He said that this mission was largely thanks to Brother Wei. Otherwise, our team might still be wandering in the deep mountains and forests. Afterwards, he filled Wei Tao's cup with wine again, and went on to recount their encounter with the yaoguai beast this time. Although the beast was not easy to deal with, it was still quite difficult to find them in the prefecture. He was surprised and asked Wei Tao how he managed to locate the yaoguai. as those creatures have a profound cultivation level that allows them to transform into mountains and stones, and even have the ability to burrow underground. He asked Wei Tao if he had any little tricks that he could share with him. Wei Tao had a smile on his face. Then he slowly took out a bamboo tube from his sleeve. He indicated that he can find the Yaoguai beast with this item. Cheng Chong couldn't help but start thinking, what does he think is so rare about this? But the next second he widened his eyes. I saw a demon slowly crawling out of the bamboo tube. It has no eyes but a nose similar to that of a pig. It moves quickly, flying back and forth around Cheng Chong. Wei Tao is introducing this bat-like Yaoguai beast called spirit-eating flying squirrel. He said that although it has no eyes, it can sniff out Yaoguai qi. Cheng Chong looked surprised and astonished after hearing that. Where did he get it from? Just as Wei Tao was eagerly preparing to introduce it, suddenly a black shadow flashed by. Then the spirit-eating flying squirrel was swallowed by Gugu. At that moment their 6 eyes met, and for a moment both were left speechless. Gugu also widened his eyes, staring at them with an innocent look. When Wei Tao realized it, his heart felt as if struck by thunder on a clear day. After that, he began to quarrel with Jiang Li, and the two of them argued endlessly. But they were interrupted by the words coming from behind. The person who came was Commandant Yin from the Department of Orthodoxy. Cheng Chong saw this and respectfully bowed in salute. Commandant Yin angrily rebuked the two persons, saying that as members of the Department of Orthodoxy Dog Guard, their behavior of shouting and making a scene in the restaurant was disgraceful. When his gaze turned to Jiang Li and the other person, he was puzzled by a familiar feeling creeping up. After recollecting, he was greatly surprised. When cultivation bears no sacred sign, the man is priced beneath 5 goatskins fine. At this moment, Chong Fairyvine's rebuke came from the side, rebuking the Department of Orthodoxy Dog Guard for daring to raise the evil creature Wei Tao. Do you know what crime that is? After hearing this, Wei Tao was momentarily speechless and his expression became tense. Chong Fairyvine coldly snorted. Considering your merit in capturing the Yaoguai this time, I will punish you by withholding half of your salary for 6 months. You will be under the surveillance of the Department of Orthodoxy Dog Guard. After hearing this, Wei Tao also breathed a sigh of relief and quickly saluted before stepping back. I saw him sitting in the sedan chair, surrounded by the snake guards of the Department of Orthodoxy. The atmosphere became tense for a moment. At this moment, Chong Fairyvine spoke up. Are you from the Xiao family of Azure Mountain Prefecture? After hearing this, Jiang Li remained silent. After a moment, Xiao Redling replied. I am family Xiao Redling. Chong Fairyvine pondered for a moment after hearing this, then muttered, Redling Redrobe, you are Xiao Tiger Emblem Guard's sister, right? He then asked, why hasn't Xiao Tiger Emblem Guard come? Xiao Redling looked crestfallen and said, my elder sister is injured and unable to come. After hearing that, Chong Fairyvine coldly snorted and said, that's just great. Before the words fell, he raised his finger slightly and a drop of blood-red liquid slipped down. His fingers were moving as if casting a spell. Xiao Redling was completely puzzled by the situation. The next second, Chong Fairyvine flicked her hand, and that drop of blood-like substance burst forth at speeds invisible to the naked eye. Head straight for Xiao Redling's glabella. Right at the critical moment, the drop of red liquid was intercepted by Jiang Li with his hand. The blood-red substance floated between Jiang Li's 2 fingers, its peculiarities indiscernible to the naked eye. Upon closer inspection, it was found to have a split mouth and was struggling between Jiang Li's fingers. This is an extremely rare goo insect. Xiao Redling was puzzled about what had happened. The next second, that blood color was crushed by Jiang Li. It turned into a cloud of blood mist and slowly dissipated. Xiao Redling asked Jiang Li what this is. Jiang Li answered solemnly, this is goo sorcery. Chong Fairyvine saw this scene. His gaze instantly turned fierce, exuding a chilling killing intent, causing one's hair to stand on end. Then he snorted coldly and said, Cultivator? Take him down for me. Immediately the snake guard swarmed in, a murderous aura surging from all directions. On the side, 2 people looked on in astonishment. Cheng Chong was surprised that this child was actually a cultivator. He then asked Wei Tao if they should take action. Wei Tao fell silent after hearing this. A moment later, he gazed at the litter in which Chong Fairyvine was sitting. He sighed and said helplessly, let's go. Cheng Chong then drew out his sword in response. At this moment, Jiang Li, still not fully recovered from his injuries, wiped the corner of his mouth. A majestic Jiao Long appeared before them, causing a tremendous pressure that left people breathless. An invisible force enveloped the entire space. Wei Tao involuntarily took a few steps back, amazed by what this thing was. The blade was cut off by the cyclone, falling to the ground with a clear sound. The previous commotion suddenly came to a halt, only to see Jiang Li holding chopsticks. The guards around were sitting paralyzed on the ground. The scene just now seemed like it had never happened before. Wei Tao, seeing that scene, even thought he was seeing things. Chang found it unbelievable and astonishingly excessive. Jiang Li's strength was a bit too much. He made a slash towards the direction of Chang Fairy Vine. The next second, a vague and ethereal breath drifted out. In an instant, Chang Fairy Vine's sedan chair fell apart. He remained silent, but his gaze turned extremely fierce. Just as he was about to approach Chang Fairy Vine, behind him, Xiao Redling's call for help could be heard. I saw her held at knife point by someone who coldly said, "Kid, don't move. This knife of mine is coated with poison. With one shake of my hand, this little girl is as good as dead." Did you understand what I just said? Jiang Li sighed after listening, shook his head helplessly. Subsequently, Jiang Li was taken away in shackles by the snake guard and imprisoned in the demon suppression prison. The Department of Orthodoxy is the most powerful organization in the world. No one has ever dared to defy their will. Continuing from the previous conversation, chaos erupted in the meat market, with Chang Fairyvine taking action. He put Jiang Li and his group into the demon suppression prison to settle the matter. This news was also known to the young master, who became extremely angry. Chang Fairyvine said that she had intended to bring family Xiao into their camp, but unexpectedly there was a cultivator by her side. Chang Fairyvine admonished that his subordinates were reckless. The young master confidently spoke of family Xiao. Later, Chang Fairyvine handed over the secret letter found on Xiao Redling, and expressed that she did not dare to look at it without permission. The young master muttered Xiao Redrobe's name thoughtfully. He looked at the letter with Qilin special delivery written on it, sighed helplessly, and then tore open the letter. He slowly took out the letter from inside. After carefully reading it, he found that this was not Xiao Redrobe's handwriting. Chang Fairyvine also looked at it with interest. At a glance he recognized that this was written by Xiao Qingting and snorted coldly. Looks like this old fox has decided to wade into this mess. In a distant and tranquil place with lush greenery around, it exudes an exquisite atmosphere. On one side came the words of an old man. If your uncle, the war tiger of Western Commandery Azure Halberd, were still alive, we wouldn't have these troubles now. The woman replied. He was the best candidate for the Qilin of Yi Prefecture. Swallow Snow said that these words were spoken by her adoptive father. During the break when she was drinking tea, she raised an eyebrow and observed the other person's expression. And the person facing her was none other than the head of the Xiao family, Xiao Qingting. After a moment of silence he said, "Those are all things of the past." He indicated that the Xiao family had already suffered heavy losses, with Red Robe no longer in service and seriously injured. He had sent a letter to the department to resign from his position as a Tiger Emblem guard. As for himself, being of advanced age, he had long declared illness to focus on recovery. He was merely holding on to the title of Tiger Emblem guard out of sheer face saving, and seeking a salary to support his old age. He mentioned that old Hu, referring to someone, was aware of all this. Swallow Snow looked at Hu Toad Guard after hearing this, while he remained silent. Later, Swallow Snow continued, Uncle Qingting Snow actually came this time too, before being interrupted by Xiao Qingting. No need to say more. Since you called me uncle, I'll act my age. I'm very happy that you came to visit me. You must be tired from your journey. I'll arrange some fun places to visit tomorrow. Enjoy yourselves for a while and then go back. After hearing that, Swallow Snow's eyes flashed with a hint of cold light. I can bring you an opportunity to revitalize the Xiao family. Xiao Qingting did not change her expression after hearing this. Swallow Snow said that as long as you help me ascend to the Qilin family in your prefecture, the glory of the Xiao family can be restored once again. After hearing Swallow Snow's words, Xiao Qingting couldn't help but laugh and asked back, How many troops do you have? Do you have troops from Eastern Commandery or Yaoguai hunting ship from South Prefecture? North Commandery's demon warder belongs to the Forbidden Guard and only guards the demon suppression prison, ignoring matters in your prefecture. It is even more unlikely to help you. As for the Snake Guard, according to my knowledge, Old Hu has long resigned from the leadership position. The one currently in charge of the Snake Guard is none other than the favored one by the young master, Chang Fairyvine. He coldly snorted and said, I am only doing this out of loyalty to my former brother, Brother Swallow. Otherwise, I would have tied you up and sent you to the department. Presumably, that child Lei Ming won't lose out to my family Xiao either. These matters are much more complicated than what you have described. For a moment it was extremely quiet. Swallow Snow coldly snorted. Do you think we are here to talk business? Let me put it in a different way. I'll give you two choices. Swallow Snow's hand made a slight movement. The Qilin seal on the wrist emits a golden aura. Xiao Qingting was shocked when she saw it. Swallow Snow's hand suddenly brought life back to the withered leaves, as branches glittered and shone with renewed vitality. As the branches extended, in an instant the entire courtyard was enveloped by massive vines. Swallow Snow expressed her allegiance, promising the Xiao family eternal prosperity and splendor. Xiao Qingting was shocked by the spectacular scene before her, and was momentarily speechless. Swallow Snow lightly said, You can also refuse me. But after tonight, there will no longer be anyone from the Xiao family in the Azure Mountain Prefecture. Xiao Qingting stood still in place for a moment after hearing this. Swallow Snow coldly snorted again, Make your choice. A murderous look evident in Xiao Qingting's eyes. Xiao Qingting sighed helplessly. This temper is not at all like Swallow flying north. Later, Xiao Qingting bowed his head and kowtowed as the head of the Xiao clan of the Yi Prefecture Western Commandery, representing the entire Xiao clan to welcome the Qilin. This moment signifies a change about to happen in the world. Bitter cold wearies the deep winter's face, yet warmth is cherished in the soaring place. Department of Orthodoxy determines the death row prisoners who are restrained in cages, surrounded by endless spells hanging on the walls of the demon suppression, prison deep within. It has been a while since Jiang Li Xiao Redling was captured. During this time Redling has lost her appetite, wearing a troubled expression all day. Upon learning about this situation, the young master also visited the room where she was detained. After instructing his subordinates to leave, he slowly walked to the front of the table. He casually pointed and lit the candlestick. At the moment when the candle was ignited, Gugu then made a sound emitting a faint sound. Xiao Redling was curled up in the corner seen by the person. Mixed with panic in her expression, she quietly watched on. At this time the young master opened Gugu's birdcage. Gugu then flew into the embrace of Xiao Redling. Watching this scene the young master couldn't help but praise. This spiritual beast is excellent. He said that when he was a child he dreamed of having a spiritual beast like this. At that moment Gugu's eyes became sharp, alert to the young master's actions. And the young master was lost in memories, saying that when he was 5 years old, there were 2 Yaoguai beast eggs and a gift from his father. He kept one for himself and gave the other to her. The person who presented this gift said that they were from Ming Prefecture, and were stolen from a nest on the cliffs of the Crevice Canyon. He said that once raised you can ride it and soar into the sky. From that time on, regardless of whether it was eating, sleeping or practicing, he always refused to let go. He thought that one day he would be able to hatch it and have his own spiritual pet. But as time passed day by day, the spiritual beast egg remained motionless. But hers has hatched, looking at those golden eyes, jet black feathers, a blood-red crest behind the head, with an indescribable charm. Later I found out that she was the adopted daughter my father took in that year. The first time I saw her, I only noticed the young eagle she was holding. I didn't hear what the people around her said to her. All his attention was occupied by the little eagle, and he felt an impulse to possess it. Later, when only she and herself were left, he then asked her to come over. At this time Xiao Redling asked, So, did she give it to you? The young master remained silent for a moment after hearing this. He gave an affirmative answer, but Xiao Redling seemed lost in thought. The young master then asked her about her older cousin's injuries. Xiao Redling became a little downcast and said that the doctor said she was not in mortal danger but needed to recuperate properly. After saying that, Xiao Redling couldn't help but reminisce. The person in front of her, she seemed to have seen him before. The young master expressed that he had been to her house before and mentioned that Xiao Qingting wanted to form a marital alliance with his father back then. He wanted to betroth Red Robe to himself, but unfortunately Red Robe did not agree. Xiao Red Robe sighed and said that her older cousin has found someone she likes. The young master looked somewhat helpless. After saying that, the atmosphere became much quieter. It wasn't until the young master spoke that the peaceful scene was broken. He said that the city has been chaotic recently and asked Xiao Redling not to go out. He would send her back in a while. After saying that, he prepared to leave. As he was about to leave, he was stopped by Xiao Redling who asked, Where is Jiang Li, the young man who was accompanying me? The young master hesitated for a moment after hearing this. He said coldly, "That person is suspected to be a remnant cultivator. He has been detained in the demon suppression prison, and will be executed as soon as his identity is confirmed. Cultivators are the most powerful beings in this world. Every time they appear, they cause chaos and bloodshed. Despite being considered invincible, they are imprisoned in cages." At this moment, Frost Crane quietly appeared. She looked at Jiang Li with a mischievous expression, saying that he would also face imprisonment one day. She asked him how it felt to be locked up. Jiang Li looked at Frost Crane and said lightly, "Life in this world, whether it's as vast as the universe or as small as our physical bodies, is all a prison. In that case, why should we care about being locked up or not?" Frost Crane was momentarily stunned. He disdainfully remarked that they cultivators were quite adept at self-comforting. But then she sighed. She looked at the inconspicuous iron chains around her. She said that this prison was quite suitable for mortals. To him, it's considered a mere formality. She couldn't help but sigh. It seems that the world has already forgotten the horror of the cultivators. Jiang Li fell silent for a moment and asked Frost Crane why she was willing to give up the opportunity for rebirth but still chose to follow him. Frost Crane pondered. She said helplessly that she just couldn't accept turning back into an egg again. She then smiled and said that compared to reincarnation, following him was more interesting. She mentioned that after all, he was such a good person. He is willing to get injured for a stranger like Swallow Snow, and is even more willing to be imprisoned for that little girl, Redling. She asked Jiang Li if he could find a body for her. Is her own beauty not as good as theirs? After speaking, she transformed into the appearance of Swallow Snow. In the blink of an eye, she turned into the appearance of Xiao Redling. She asked Jiang Li what type does he like. She saw that Jiang Li remained silent. She looked at him with a playful expression in her eyes and said, "Jiang Li, he must like Redling." Jiang Li couldn't bear Frost Crane's unreasonable behavior in the end. With a glance from him, Frost Crane instantly turned into a child with a headband. She panicked and immediately started screaming. She questioned Jiang Li why he wanted to turn her into this state. Jiang Li replied that condensing the soul and gathering the spirit would benefit her. Frost Crane, upon hearing this, stopped there. Afterwards, they passed the boring time by playing chess. Just as Frost Crane waved his hand, the airflow in the air twisted and solidified. In an instant, it turned into an ice chess piece floating on her fingertip. As the chess piece fell, she looked helplessly at Jiang Li, indicating that it was his turn. In the interval between moves, due to being in the soul spirit state, Frost Crane's perception of spiritual power is more sensitive. He noticed that the injury in Jiang Li's body was damage to the divine soul. Damage to the divine soul will cause instability in the Dao Foundation. She urged Jiang Li to practice breathing exercises as soon as possible to nurture himself. Otherwise, the stagnant qi in his body will spread throughout his body. Jiang Li coughed a bit, indicating that he was not seriously injured. At this moment, Frost Crane also noticed that the spiritual qi here seemed denser than the outside world. She was surprised by the prison-like atmosphere. Could it be a rare cultivation treasure land in the world? She asked Jiang Li if he also felt it, but Jiang Li did not respond. He instead picked up a stone. He suggested continuing to play chess, but in the depths of the prison, it was dark and gloomy, with the wind howling past and countless iron chains. Only saw the bottom of the abyss. The end of the iron chain imprisons a person covered in curses. The person's flesh has long decayed, but they exude a strong spiritual qi as if they were a deity in a secluded place. There are countless cages and chains around, binding individuals who have long lost their vitality. Yet, their bodies emit a strong spiritual qi. At this moment, a person walks slowly. Their steps are light, and their figure is elegant, as if floating above the water. Gradually, he approaches the person in shackles, an elderly man with white hair. Suddenly, he falls into contemplation. Time seems to have stopped at this moment. The old man cleared his throat, and a voice came from under the water. "Is it you?" At this moment, the reflection of the imprisoned person appeared on the surface of the water. It turned out to be a bright moon, Sir Watermoon. Watermoon was delighted by his arrival, and mentioned that more than 20 years had passed since they last parted. He asked Nine Caddy how he had been all these years. This old man named Nine Caddy, just a young man who catches frogs for a living. On a normal night of hunting, he encountered an extraordinary experience that changed his life forever. The bright moon in the night sky transformed into an illuminated old man. Since then, he became incredibly powerful. And now he has become the leader of the Qilin Guard in a province. But later that bright moon was bound up. The old man's eyes are empty at the moment. The left eye is showing red and eerie mysterious spell, while the right eye symbolizes the water moon. Clearly, he was bewitched by water moon. The old man then tightly closed his eyes, grateful that he had not lost his sanity again. Then he slowly walked towards water moon and apologized. Water moon said it was okay, indicating that Lei Skybreaker would still need to bother him with these tasks even after he died. The old man said helplessly that they also did not dare to let others approach him. Water moon asked in response, "Are they afraid that others cannot resist the temptation?" Then he received a positive response from the old man. He plucked a hair from him. He looked at the tiny hair. The old man opened his eyes, a thought echoing in his mind. And within the Department of Orthodoxy, the second reported to the young master about what had happened earlier. And Chong Fairyvine learned that a Tiger Emblem Guard and 2 elite dog guards from the Department of Orthodoxy were beaten on their own territory. Surprisingly, the boss still sent someone to rescue them afterwards. He was also very angry, saying they are a bunch of useless people. The second quickly expressed that it was the incompetence of the subordinates. Lei Ming asked him who the other party was. The second had just thought about responding to the young master. He was interrupted by Chong Fairyvine, who asked him to address her as Lord. He said that Lei Ming had succeeded to the position of Qilin, becoming their new master. The second responded in agreement upon seeing the situation. Just as he was about to continue speaking, he heard the innocent words of a child behind him, whose voice was filled with immense internal energy. "I saw Cornus riding Black Tiger approaching slowly," she shouted loudly. "Guys from the Department of Orthodoxy, listen up. Send out your best fighters to me." What is the reason in the end? What could have prompted this child to dare to challenge the #1 organization in the martial arts world, the Department of Orthodoxy, all by himself? She even boasted that she would challenge their strongest fighter. And then Cornus clapped her small hands on Black Tiger. Cornus slipped down from it smoothly. At the moment her feet touched the ground, there was no sound at all. Only the bells on the body jingled. She looked at the dog guards around and said, "They all look so weak." But the dog guards disagreed, all wearing mocking expressions. With disdain in their faces they said, "Where did this little kid come from, daring to cause trouble in the department?" One of them angrily retorted, saying, "She may be young, but she has quite an attitude. Tell her to leave quickly and not cause trouble for her parents." But Cornus pointed out that she doesn't have parents. Dogguard was furious when he heard it, thinking Cornus was playing a trick on him. Just as he was about to take action, he was stopped by someone nearby. Because he noticed the Black Tiger, which was the beast companion of the Western Commandery High Tiger Emblem Guard. He asked Cornus who she was. Dogguard's master disdainfully expressed, "She wouldn't be that rustic wild seed roaming around, would she?" But Cornus casually responded, "What's it to you?" Dogguard master furious shouted, "How dare you?" And with that, he immediately slapped Cornus. However, he was blocked by Cornus using his small hand. Her eyes emitted a blue mysterious light. "How dare you bully me?" The crowd was shocked by this sudden scene. Before they could react, Cornus exerted force with his hand, followed by a clicking sound. Dogguard master's arm was broken. No one is Cornus' match. The arrival of Lei Mingchong and Fairyvine helped calm the situation. Everyone respectfully bowed to Lei Ming. Lei Ming had no expression on his face. He looked at the dog guard lying on the ground and did not get up, as if lost in thought. Chong Fairyvine then inquired about their injuries. His subordinates replied that they were merely knocked unconscious. Chong Fairyvine couldn't help but feel somewhat amazed. Nearly 20 dog guards couldn't hold out for half a quarter against this child. He couldn't help but be curious about the identity of this child. However, what happened next left him even more shocked. In the center of the battlefield, he was seen wearing a suit of armor emitting a powerful aura. The scars on his face are a symbol of his long experience on the battlefield, and that man is Pei 18, known as the Scarred Tiger of Wa Prefecture. He simply drew out the spiritual weapon behind him, which transformed into a surge of bone spirits. His aura became ferocious and violent, accompanied by an indescribable sense of terrifying killing intent. Chong Fairyvine was quite surprised by his arrival. He was astonished that the commander of the Guard of Wa Prefecture would appear here. At this moment, Pei 18's eyes were empty, but his gaze concealed a murderous intent. At this time, Cornus's young voice came from the side. Cornus pointed at him angrily, accusing him of being deceitful and not abiding by the rules of the game for using spiritual weapon. The spiritual weapon used by Pei 18 is different from the ones used by Family Shao in Spiritual Ruins Mountain, as it emits an indistinct demonic qi. Pei 18 said nothing after hearing it, as he sensed an even more terrifying presence. Cornus pulled out a wooden stick from his sleeve, and the next second, 2 huge long goldfish appeared in the sky, one representing the fire attribute called Flying Flame, and the other representing the ice attribute named Floating Nether. They exuded a terrifying aura, spreading a sense of horror throughout the space. Pei 18 was stunned. He had never seen such a scene before. With the attacks of Flying Flame and Floating Nether, water and fire merge. The moment when the 2 attacks collide stirs up countless ripples. The energy of the attack purified the spiritual weapon contaminated by demonic qi. This fierce attack made Pei 18's eyes become profound. He had to take this seemingly unremarkable child in front of him seriously. At this moment, Cornus sneered disdainfully. Then she swung the wooden stick in her hand, and the air instantly distorted. The 2 auras of ice and fire intertwined with each other, and an invisible force kept circulating in the space. Pei 18 felt an extremely terrifying sense of oppression coming from herself. The unremarkable child in front of her was using a sorcery called Flying Flame Floating Nether, which is said to be only mastered by cultivators in legends. Even when facing fierce tigers on the battlefield, she did not fall behind. And her goal in coming to the Department of Orthodoxy, the #1 department in the world, is only to challenge the strongest person. At this moment, the demonic qi surges freely on Pei 18's body, and the fighting spirit in his eyes becomes even stronger. Just at the moment when the 2 of them confronted each other. Beside them, young Master Lei Ming's words came, indicating for the 2 of them to stop. But the 2 ignored Lei Ming's advice and engaged in direct combat, as Cornus had not encountered a worthy opponent for a long time. This fierce and exhilarating battle filled her with great excitement. Lei Ming looked at the scene and felt momentarily embarrassed by the situation. Even his subordinate's eyes flashed a hint of embarrassment. Seeing this situation, he silently chanted, and with the sword blade raising a surge of heat, an endless wave of terror interrupted their attacks. For a moment the entire space became extremely hot, shocking the 2 of them with this sudden turn of events. And Cornus was surprised that it was once again a spiritual weapon, only to see that the spiritual weapon was exuding waves of scorching heat, and behind Lei Ming, the rising incinerating flames appeared with distortions and rising intentions all around, as if to melt the world. Lei Ming at that moment was like the ancient god of slaughter. Then he repeated his previous words once again. But Cornus didn't agree with that, saying not to worry and that it would be his turn next. However, Pei 18 showed a surprised expression after seeing it. He couldn't help but recall 20 years ago when someone else was also holding a spiritual weapon. It was the same move as well. Hand rises, blade falls. It blinded one of his eyes and left a scar on his face. This made him, who had become famous at a young age, feel extremely stunned. And now he has encountered it once again. A strong killing intent is clearly revealed on his face. Even the demonic qi on his body has become more intense, while there is also an invisible force constantly surging on that spiritual weapon. But at this moment, a pair of slender hands blocked Pei 18. Pei 18 immediately lowered his head to signal to the woman when he saw her. The woman then said, "This is your prefecture. They shouldn't act recklessly with weapons in your prefecture." He expressed that Flower Moon will apologize to Lei Ming on his behalf. When Chang Fairyvine saw her face, she showed a look of astonishment at her arrival. I saw the woman wearing a plain and elegant black robe. The noble expression on her body naturally revealed. The delicate and elegant facial features, with a pair of bright and shining eyes, make people have to admire her refined and graceful aura. And she is the governor of Wa Prefecture, Dantai Flower Moon. The surroundings were silent. Only the rapid breathing of the crowd revealed their disbelief and shock. Only Cornus kept shouting, asking them whether or not they were going to fight. The baby inherited the legacy of the Qilin as soon as it was born, but the Qilin's power within the body was sealed by the celestial spell. Unexpectedly, the moment he opened his eyes, the seal of sorcery was gone. The power of the Qilin was fully unleashed without reservation. His body began to expand uncontrollably, and with a mighty momentum, he unleashed endless slaughter upon the world. Even the sky turned blood red, allowing the world to witness the catastrophic consequences of an out-of-control Qilin. In less than a month, this calamity has almost turned Wa Prefecture and the Western Commandery's 3 prefectures and 12 towns into ruins. In the end, the Qilins of Ya and Chu prefectures jointly submitted a memorial to the emperor, requesting permission to send someone to execute the calamitous being. However, the disaster suddenly stopped. A toad guard from Wa Prefecture calmed down the enraged young Qilin. The out-of-control power was once again brought under control by reason. Thus, the people of Hua Prefecture respectfully refer to it as Qilin's mother, the spirit toad. The following year, the Emperor Prefecture issued an imperial edict appointing him governor of Hua Prefecture, in charge of all military affairs and matters in Hua Prefecture. While she, the spirit toad, is not a Qilin, but she is the true controller of Hua Prefecture. At this moment, Chang Fairyvine is introducing the origin of the spirit toad to the young master. Later, Spirit Toad and Lei Ming nodded to indicate that Spirit Toad's purpose for coming this time is to represent her lord to attend Lei Ming's father's funeral. She expressed that her lord is unwell and unable to come in person to offer condolences, so please understand. Lei Ming expressed that there is no problem and feels honored by her arrival. Later, Spirit Toad reminisced about past memories. She asked Lei Ming Snow Captain Swallow how he had been doing recently, expressing that she had missed him a lot since they last parted. However, Lei Ming remained silent after hearing this, but his eyes revealed a hidden threat. Spirit Toad quickly apologized after seeing this, saying that he had spoken out of turn, and hoped that young Master Lei would forgive him. Later, Lei Ming instructed his subordinates to prepare a place for Spirit Toad's wife to rest. Before leaving, Spirit Toad noticed Chang Fairyvine nearby and asked, "You must be Mr. Chang, right?" She then received Chang Fairyvine's affirmative reply. After a conversation between the two of them, Spirit Toad asked about the whereabouts of the Chu Prefecture Qilin. Chang Fairyvine was surprised that the Hua Prefecture Qilin guard also came. Spirit Toad explained that it was a few days ago. He communicated the message to himself. He said he would gather here and calculate the days. He should have arrived early. Lei Ming and Chang Fairyvine looked at each other, apparently unaware of the arrival of the Chu Prefecture Qilin guard. They received no news with shocked expressions on their faces. At this time, a child's tender voice came from behind. "May I ask what you were just talking about regarding the Qilin?" And in a dark and gloomy place, the constant hissing of wild beasts kept ringing in my ears. I only saw a blurry figure not far away. He kept sighing as if he had encountered a tricky problem. What is the reason behind it? To allow the Qilin guard of Chu Prefecture. A sigh escaped his lips. Nine Catty Bicycle just walked out of the forbidden area of the demon suppression prison in Hua Prefecture. He recalled what Watermoon had said before. For him, 100 years of time is just like a fleeting moment. But for ordinary people it is different. It is a cruel force by the time the world has long forgotten it. Runes will fade and chains will corrode. The stars that have been sleeping in the abyss will eventually rise again and hang in the night sky. Nine Catty is looking at the bloodstains in his hand. He understands that he does not have much time left, and he is afraid that he will not be able to stop everything from happening. He sighed and felt helpless about the impact Watermoon's presence in this world would bring to the suffering. At this moment, a voice came from the side asking, "Who is here?" Only to see the figures of two people gradually emerging from the darkness. The subordinate kept scolding him for not responding to Commandant Yin's question about Nine Catty, feeling a sense of familiarity upon seeing them. He was greatly surprised when he saw Nine Catty's face clearly. He immediately said, "Subordinate Yin Yong pays respects to the Chu Prefecture Qilin guard." Nine Catty was surprised why he knew him. Yin Yong explained that he had the privilege of accompanying the late lord on a visit to Guizhou, and had the honor of meeting him. Nine Catty chuckled. He remembered working on the Yaoguai hunting ship in the south, but he found it strange why he was now working as a prison guard here. Yin Yong replied that he was just following the orders from the top peak. Later, Nine Catty casually mentioned that he hadn't been to this place for a long time, and felt a bit confused after walking around. Yin Yong felt wary in his heart and asked Sir Nine Catty why he was here. However, Nine Catty evaded the question with a few words, saying he was just here to reminisce. Yin Yong tactfully reminded him that this place is a forbidden area in Hua Prefecture, and even he must follow the rules. At that moment, a mournful roar came from the side. Yin Yong sighed and remarked that it was quite lively here now. And deep in the dungeon, a six-eyed monster is imprisoned. There are countless monsters here. Lei Ming brought countless monsters from various places in Hua Prefecture to be used as sacrificial offerings. At this moment, Yin Yong saw Sir Nine Catty walking towards the side and told him he was going the wrong way. But Nine Catty was surprised and asked, "Why am I locked up here?" Following Nine Catty's gaze, lying in the jail was a person on the verge of death. It was Xiong Li, the Xiong Tiger Emblem Guard of Hua Prefecture. Later, he learned from Yin Yong that Xiong Li had defied the Lord and attempted rebellion, leading to his imprisonment. Nine Catty found it unbelievable upon hearing this. He was hailed by the world as a man of integrity, Yet he was involved in a rebellion. Obviously, Yi Prefecture has secrets that are unknown to the public. He once led troops to defend against foreign invasions. He was mighty and indomitable on the battlefield, repelling the foreign invaders. Throughout his life, he worked diligently and remained loyal to the Yi Prefecture Department of Orthodoxy. Such a distinguished and illustrious individual. He was imprisoned in the demon suppression prison. Not only was his martial arts destroyed, but his tendons were cruelly severed. At this moment, Nine Caddy looked at his former friend in such a state, feeling a mix of emotions in his heart. And learning that he was imprisoned for plotting a rebellion, he was even more puzzled. This scene also brought back memories of that unforgettable past. The people are living in dire straits with heavy casualties everywhere. Fortunately, the Department of Orthodoxy led by Jiang Li arrived in time. They jointly fought against the Yaoguai beast in that epic battle, with countless casualties on both sides. Through this they met and formed a deep friendship. Jiang Li even provided material and financial assistance, reducing the death toll in Chu Prefecture during the winter solstice. At that time, Jiang Li also asked him to join the troops to attack Wu Prefecture, expressing that by occupying their fields, the people of Chu Prefecture will no longer suffer from famine. Nine Caddy sneered and asked, "Are you acting confused? Have you forgotten all the rules when you joined the Department of Orthodoxy? How can the demon-slaying blade be swung at people?" Jiang Li said it's him who is confused, while Nine Caddy remained silent but his eyes flashed with cold light. Following that, Jiang Li continued, saying that this place is the last wilderness in Yi Prefecture. He expressed that the times have changed, and nobody would be foolish enough to adhere to those old rules anymore. But after more than 20 years apart, who would have known that their reunion would be in prison? Nine Caddy couldn't help but feel extremely sad. He looked at the remaining leftover rice on the ground. He instructed his subordinate to prepare a roasted chicken and a pot of wine for him. The subordinate hesitated before saying, "But." However, the next second, the subordinate was stopped by Nine Caddy. "I, the majestic Qilin of a state, do you doubt that I can't afford it?" Before the words could land, a voice was heard from the side. "Are you Qilin?" Nine Caddy stood still in place, his face showing a look of shock because he hadn't detected the presence of the speaker. Only a pair of silver pupils slowly appeared. Jiang Li regretfully said, "They are not silver." But Nine Caddy was once again shocked, because there is something familiar to him inside the cage. That is the symbol of the Spiritual Ruins Mountain Cultivator, the Spiritual Ruins seal. Behind that moment, there is the imprint. It's like in the turbulent waves of the sea, a jiaolong in constant turmoil. That feeling made him unable to breathe. Trembling, Nine Caddy asked, "Is it you?" However, as he carefully felt it, he realized that it was not the terrifying person from before. He thought that the person was too young. At this time, the subordinate explained that the person is suspected to be a cultivator remnant, and their identity still needs to be verified. They asked Sir Nine Caddy if he knows the person. Nine Caddy mumbled, "Cultivator." And this seems to have triggered some past memories that he was unwilling to recall. He sighed helplessly. "You really dare to interrogate anyone, huh?" He then instructed his subordinate to give him a roast chicken. However, Jiang Li just observed everything in silence. After they left, Jiang Li spoke up. "So this is the Qilin guard, huh?" At this moment, Little Frozen appeared quietly and said to Jiang Li, "That person has a very strong aura." She suggested that they should leave here as soon as possible. Jiang Li, on the other hand, raised the corner of his mouth, thinking that things were becoming more and more interesting. This is an insect that has lived for 100 years. It is tightly bound by a thin rope, constantly flapping its wings trying to break free from the constraints. Little did it know that it had already been taken as food. A frog stretches out its long tongue to entwine it. But the next second, it bites onto the thin rope and gets lifted up. The voice of a young child rang out, "Big Bull, hurry and hold it down. Don't let it escape." A figure flashed through the bushes immediately. He jumped up and pounced towards the frog. The frog also leaped into the air. Fortunately, he reacted in time and caught it. It then proudly shouted, "Sister Ernyo, look how fat I am." After a whole afternoon of capturing, they had a good harvest, but Big Bull was drooling and still wanted to roast one to eat. However, Ernyo angrily rebuked him, saying that this is used to exchange for money for grandfather's medicine. Big Bull lowered his head in disappointment and said that he was very hungry. Ernyo then comforted his emotions. She said she wanted to buy him buns to eat. After that, they came to the town. But they did not expect to encounter a deceitful merchant. The merchant took advantage of their young age, and lowered the purchase price from the original 50 coins per unit to 20 coins. Ernyo was furious and about to speak. But they didn't expect the shopkeeper to further lower the price again, saying that their frogs were almost dead. He expressed that it was because her grandfather was ill. Otherwise, this frog would only be worth 10 cents. Just as Ernyo was contemplating this, the shop owner, however, accidentally knocked over the rope used for catching frogs. The frog broke free from the bondage of the rope and scattered in all directions. Big Bull, upon discovering this, was just about to chase after when. But the frog was caught by someone. The newcomer could tell at a glance that this was Golden-Eyed Qing. He asked Big Bull if this toad was his. He immediately handed the toad to Big Bull. Big Bull's voice trembled as he thanked. But who knew the manager immediately appeared in front of the man, respectfully greeted him, and asked if there were any good products recently. The man burst into laughter, saying that good products are not so easy to come by. He looked meaningfully at the siblings. He immediately criticized the store manager. Such a large Golden-Eyed Qing and only sold for such a small amount of money. After hearing that, the store manager immediately changed his attitude. Then he gave the siblings 200 coins. Big Bull was thrilled and immediately thought about buying steamed buns to eat. Ernyo, on the other hand, took out the prescription and prepared to go to the pharmacy to get medicine for Grandpa. At that moment, a gust of cold wind blew in. The wind blew the prescription out of Ernyo's hand. The next second, the prescription was caught by someone. Big Bull was just about to angrily scold, but he found the person in front of him was the big man who had just saved them. Ernyo promptly thanked Big Bull. The big man took a look at the prescription and said that the small amount of money they had on hand was definitely not enough. He mentioned that there was now a way to make money and asked if they were interested in doing it. Before they could respond, a young man holding a donkey beside them spoke up, saying, "Come along. There are meat buns to eat too."